A billionaire's daughter sat alone on a freezing street corner, hungry and forgotten, while her father built empires and ignored the only thing that mattered. Then a broke waitress gave away her last meal to save a child she'd never met. That single sandwich would shatter a family, expose a father's failures, and force three broken strangers to choose between money and love. But before any of them found redemption, they'd first have to survive the night that changed everything. Stay until the end, hit that like button, and comment your city so I can see how far this story travels. The dinner plate shattered against the kitchen tiles at exactly 9:47 p.m. Ava Collins didn't flinch anymore. After 3 years slinging hash at Riverside Bistro, broken dishes were just another Tuesday night. She grabbed the broom from beside the industrial dishwasher and swept up the ceramic shards while her manager, Derek, screamed at the new busboy about proper stacking techniques. "You cost me $12. Derek jabbed his finger toward the kid's chest. $12 goddamn dollars coming out of your check. Ava kept her head down and swept. Getting involved meant extending a shift that should have ended 40 minutes ago. Her feet ached inside the discount sneakers she'd owned for 2 years. The left sole had a hole she'd covered with duct tape last month. "Ava!" Derek spun toward her. "Table 9 needs their check. Move it." She dumped the broken plate into the trash and headed back to the dining room, plastering on the smile customers expected. Table 9 was a family of 4, parents who'd barely tipped 15% on an $80 bill. The father was already holding his credit card up like a flag. "Here you go, folks." Ava set down the leather check holder. "No rush." The man slapped his card down without looking at her. "We're in a rush." His wife was scrolling through her phone. Their kids were throwing sugar packets at each other. Ava collected the payment, processed it at the POS terminal, and returned with the receipt. The father signed it, left exactly 14%, and they were gone 90 seconds later. Ava pocketed the $11 tip and cleared their table. Sticky syrup coated the surface. Someone had ground French fries into the booth cushion. She scraped, wiped, reset the silverware. The restaurant finally emptied around 10:15 p.m. "Ava, you're closing salad station," Derek announced from behind the bar where he was counting cash. "Bathroom check, then you're out." She nodded and headed to the prep kitchen. Closing salad station meant wrapping everything in plastic, dating it, storing it properly. It took another 20 minutes. Then she grabbed the bathroom cleaning kit and made her rounds. The women's room smelled like cheap perfume and something worse. Someone had missed the toilet entirely. Ava cleaned it without thinking, her mind already on the walk home. 12 blocks. She'd stopped taking the bus 3 months ago to save the fare. By the time she clocked out, it was 10:52 p.m. Derek was gone. The night manager, Luis, was locking up the liquor cabinet. "See you Thursday," Luis said without looking up. "Wednesday," Ava corrected. "I'm covering Maria's lunch shift." "Right, Wednesday." She pushed through the back door into the alley. Cold November air hit her face like a slap. She hadn't brought her heavy coat because the zipper was broken and she couldn't afford to fix it yet. The light jacket she wore was enough for the walk if she moved fast. Ava cut through the alley to Riverside Avenue. The street was busy despite the hour. Taxis honking, people stumbling out of bars, a homeless man pushing a shopping cart full of aluminum cans. She kept her head down and walked. Her apartment was in the Riverside Gardens complex, though there were no gardens and the river was 6 blocks away. 12 floors of subsidized housing built in the 70s and falling apart ever since. Ava lived on the 9th floor in a studio that cost $800 a month, which was considered cheap by city standards and utterly crushing by hers. She was thinking about the stack of bills on her kitchen counter when she saw the girl. At first, Ava almost walked past. The child was sitting on the curb outside a closed dry cleaner, partially hidden by a newspaper box. Just another kid waiting for their parents, probably. But something made Ava stop. The girl was small, 6 years old, maybe 7. She wore a cream-colored wool coat that looked expensive, the kind Ava had seen on children in the nice part of downtown, where the boutique sold $100 baby shoes. Her dark hair was pulled into a ponytail with a velvet ribbon. Polished Mary Jane shoes. A designer backpack sat beside her on the dirty sidewalk, and she was alone. Ava glanced around. No parents, no adults watching, just a little girl sitting on a freezing curb at 11 o'clock at night in a city that didn't care about children or anyone else. "Hey?" Ava approached slowly, not wanting to scare her. "You okay?" The girl looked up. Her face was pale, eyes red like she'd been crying. She didn't answer. Ava crouched down to her level. Where's your mom or dad? Working? The girl's voice was tiny, barely audible over the street noise. Working where? I don't know. The girl looked down at her shoes. He said wait here. But that was… I don't know. Ava felt something cold settle in her stomach. How long have you been sitting here? The girl shrugged. What's your name? Lily. I'm Ava. She sat down on the curb beside the child, ignoring the cold concrete against her jeans. Lily, did your dad leave you here on purpose? He got a call. An important call. Lily's voice was flat, practiced, like she'd explained this before. He said to wait right here and don't move, and he'd be back in 10 minutes. When was that? Before dinner. Jesus Christ. Ava pulled out her phone. 11:03 p.m. Lily, do you know your dad's phone number? The girl nodded and recited it. Ava dialed. It rang 4 times, then went to voicemail. You've reached Ethan Carter. Leave a message. Ava hung up. She tried again. Voicemail. He doesn't answer when he's working, Lily said quietly. What does your dad do? He makes computer things for schools. Not helpful. Ava looked up and down the street, thinking. She could call the police. They'd take Lily to a station, maybe child services. The girl would spend the night in some institutional holding room, terrified and alone, until they tracked down her father. Or Ava could wait with her. It was a stupid decision. Ava knew it, even as she made it. She was exhausted. She had class tomorrow morning at 7. Her feet hurt, her back hurt, and she'd eaten exactly 1 granola bar since noon. But the girl was shivering. Okay, Ava said. I'm going to wait with you until your dad comes back. Is that all right? Lily nodded, relief flooding her face. Are you cold? Another nod. Ava unzipped her jacket and wrapped it around the girl's shoulders. The November air bit through her thin work shirt immediately, but Lily stopped shivering. Thank you, the girl whispered. They sat together on the curb. Cars passed. People walked by without looking. Ava tried the father's number 3 more times over the next 20 minutes. Voicemail every time. At 11:30, Lily's stomach growled loud enough to hear over the traffic. When did you last eat? Ava asked. Breakfast. Your dad didn't feed you lunch or dinner? He was in meetings. Ava closed her eyes. She had $32 in her checking account and another week until payday. But she also had something else. She reached into her work bag and pulled out the turkey sandwich she'd made that morning. It was supposed to be her dinner after the shift, but Derek's screaming had killed her appetite, and she'd forgotten about it. The bread was a little stale, the lettuce slightly wilted, but it was food. Here. Ava unwrapped the sandwich and handed it to Lily. Eat this. The girl stared at it like she'd been given a diamond. It's okay, Ava said. I already ate. It was a lie. Ava's stomach was gnawing at itself. But watching this small, neglected child devour that sandwich like she was starving made everything else irrelevant. Lily ate fast, barely chewing. Crumbs fell on her expensive coat. When she finished, she looked at Ava with those big, sad eyes and said, You're really nice. You're really hungry, Ava replied. Dad forgets sometimes. Forgets to feed you? Lily nodded. When he's working, he says his work is important, more important than… She trailed off. More important than what? Nothing. But Ava heard what the girl couldn't say. More important than her. They sat in silence for a while. Ava kept checking her phone, kept calling the father's number. Nothing. At midnight, a taxi pulled up to the curb and a man in a business suit climbed out. He paid the driver, turned toward the sidewalk, and froze when he saw them. Lily! The girl's head snapped up. Daddy! The man, tall, dark hair, expensive suit that probably cost more than Ava's monthly rent, sprinted toward them with an expression Ava had never seen on a stranger's face before. Pure terror. Lily! He dropped to his knees and grabbed the girl, pulling her into his arms. Oh my God! I thought… He was shaking, actually shaking. His hands clutched his daughter like she might disappear if he let go. I'm okay, Daddy, Lily said into his shoulder. The man pulled back, checking her over. Are you hurt? Did anyone… His eyes landed on Ava for the first time. Who are you? Ava stood up slowly. I found her sitting here alone. I called your number about 20 times. His face drained of color. You were here alone? You told me to wait, Lily said. I said 10 minutes. I said... He stopped, realization crashing over him. He pulled out his phone and stared at the screen. Jesus Christ, it's midnight. She's been here since before dinner, Ava said flatly. The man looked at her, then at his daughter, then at the empty street around them. Something crumbled in his expression. I was in a meeting, he said, but it sounded hollow even to him. There was an issue with the Tokyo office, and I thought... He stopped. I lost track of time. She was starving. He blinked. What? Your daughter hasn't eaten since breakfast. I gave her my sandwich. The man stared at Ava like she'd just spoken a foreign language. Then he looked down at Lily, at the crumbs still on her coat, and something broke behind his eyes. Lily, His voice cracked. I'm so sorry. The girl just hugged him. He stood up, lifting Lily with him. She wrapped her arms around his neck and buried her face in his shoulder. The man looked at Ava, and for a moment neither of them spoke. Thank you, he finally said, for staying with her, for... He trailed off, fumbled in his pocket, and pulled out a wallet. Please, let me pay you back for the food, for your time. He held out a $100 bill. Ava stared at it. $100. That was groceries for 2 weeks. That was the gas bill she'd been putting off. That was breathing room she desperately needed. She didn't take it. I didn't help your daughter because I wanted money, Ava said quietly. I helped her because she's a kid, and she was alone and scared. The man's hand wavered. I didn't mean to insult you. I know what you meant. Ava picked up her bag from the curb. But you can't pay people to care about your child when you won't. It came out harsher than she intended. The man flinched like she'd slapped him. That's not... He stopped. That's not fair. Isn't it? He had no answer. Lily lifted her head from his shoulder. Ava gave me her jacket too, and she called you lots of times. The man's jaw tightened. He looked at Ava, really looked at her, for the first time. Saw the cheap clothes, the worn shoes, the exhaustion in her face. Saw someone who had less than nothing giving away her last meal to a stranger's child. What's your name? He asked. Ava Collins. I'm Ethan Carter. He shifted Lily in his arms. I own Carter Educational Technologies. Maybe you've heard of it. She hadn't. We develop learning software and classroom tools for schools across the country, he continued. We're about to close a deal with the Department of Education that will put our programs in every public school in America. Ava didn't know why he was telling her this. Congratulations. I'm trying to explain why I... He stopped, frustrated. Why I got distracted. Distracted, Ava repeated. You forgot your daughter for 5 hours because you were distracted. It wasn't 5 hours. She said you left her here before dinner. It's after midnight. Ethan's face went white again. He couldn't argue with that. Lily yawned against his shoulder. The adrenaline was wearing off, leaving a tired little girl who should have been in bed hours ago. I should get her home, Ethan said. Yeah, you should. He hesitated. Can I at least buy you dinner, to say thank you properly? It's midnight. Tomorrow then, or whenever you're free. Ava almost said no. She didn't want gratitude from a man who couldn't be bothered to feed his own daughter. She wanted to go home, take a hot shower, and collapse into bed before her alarm went off in 6 hours. But Lily was looking at her with those big, hopeful eyes. There's a pizza place 2 blocks from here, Ava said. Vinny's. They're open until 1. Ethan blinked. Now? If you're actually sorry, you'll feed your daughter a real meal instead of taking her home to an empty kitchen. It was a test. Ava didn't know why she was giving it, but she was. Ethan looked at Lily. Are you hungry, sweetheart? The girl nodded. Okay. He adjusted her in his arms. Pizza it is. They walked to Vinny's in silence. It was a small hole-in-the-wall place with flickering neon signs and cracked vinyl booths. Ava had eaten there exactly twice in 3 years because even their cheapest slice cost $4. Ethan looked completely out of place in his $1,000 suit, carrying his designer-dressed daughter through the door. The late-night crowd, drunk college kids, and taxi drivers stared openly. They slid into a booth. Lily sat beside her father, still wearing Ava's jacket. Ethan grabbed a laminated menu and frowned at it like he'd never seen pizza before. "What do you want, Lily?" he asked. "Pepperoni." "Anything else?" The girl looked at Ava. "What are you getting?" "I'm not hungry," Ava lied. "You gave me your dinner," Lily said. "You have to eat something." Ethan's expression did something complicated. He looked at Ava, then at the menu, then at his daughter. "We're getting 2 large pizzas," he announced. "Pepperoni and— what else do you like, Lily?" "Cheese." "Pepperoni and cheese then, and—" He scanned the menu. "Breadsticks and salad." "Dad, I don't like salad." "Ava might." He was looking at her when he said it. Ava's cheeks flushed. "I'm fine with pizza," she said. 2 large pizzas, breadsticks, salad, and— Ethan flagged down the bored-looking waiter. "What do you have to drink?" "Coke, Sprite, root beer, water. 3 Cokes." The waiter scribbled it down and left. Ethan folded his hands on the table and looked at Ava. "Tell me about yourself," he said. "Why?" "Because I want to know who saved my daughter tonight." Ava shifted uncomfortably. "There's not much to tell." "You work at Riverside Bistro. How did you—" He pointed at her shirt. The restaurant's logo was embroidered on the chest. "Right," Ava said. "Yeah, I'm a waitress." "Just a waitress? What's that supposed to mean? I mean, is that your career, or are you doing something else?" Ava bristled. "I'm also a student, part-time. I'm getting my teaching certification." "What do you want to teach?" "Elementary school, 2nd or 3rd grade, ideally." "Why?" "Because kids that age still think learning is fun, before the system crushes it out of them." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "You don't like the education system?" "I didn't say that." "You implied it." The waiter returned with 3 Cokes. Lily immediately grabbed hers and started drinking through the straw. Ava sipped hers slowly, trying to make it last. "The system is broken," Ava said finally. "Not the teachers. Most of them are doing their best with no support and no funding, but the structure itself is designed to fail kids who don't fit the mold." "What would you change?" "Everything." She surprised herself with the vehemence. "Smaller class sizes, better pay for teachers so the good ones don't leave for corporate jobs, more resources for kids with learning differences, less standardized testing, more actual learning." "That costs money." "The money exists. It just goes to contractors and administrators instead of classrooms." Ethan smiled. "You sound passionate." "I am passionate. I watched my little brother get chewed up by a system that didn't care if he could read." Ava stopped, realizing she'd said too much. "Anyway, that's why I'm getting certified, so I can maybe help a few kids before I burn out." "You think you'll burn out?" "Everyone does. Teachers last an average of 5 years before they quit." "Not everyone. The ones who care do." They were interrupted by the arrival of 2 massive pizzas, a basket of breadsticks, and a salad that Ethan had clearly ordered just for Ava. The food covered the entire table. Lily's eyes went wide. "This is so much food." "Eat as much as you want," Ethan said. The girl grabbed a slice of pepperoni and took a huge bite. Grease dripped down her chin. She chewed, swallowed, and smiled for the first time since Ava had met her. "This is really good," Lily said. "Yeah?" Ethan took a slice himself, looking uncomfortable with the casual food. "Better than the stuff at home." "We don't have pizza at home." "We do. In the freezer." "That's different." Ava took a slice of cheese pizza and bit into it. The cheap, greasy, perfect flavor hit her empty stomach like a blessing. She'd forgotten how hungry she was. They ate in silence for a while. Lily demolished 3 slices, then started on the breadsticks. Ethan picked at his food, glancing between his daughter and Ava like he was trying to figure something out. "Can I ask you a question?" he said finally. Ava nodded, mouth full of pizza. "Why did you stay with Lily? You didn't know who she was. You didn't know if I was coming back. You could have just called the police and left." Ava swallowed. "Would you have wanted your daughter sitting in a police station for 5 hours?" "No." "Then that's why I stayed." "But you don't know me. You don't know her." "I know she's 6 years old and she was alone on a street corner at night," Ava said. "That's all I needed to know." Ethan stared at her. You're a better person than most. I'm not. I'm just not a monster. The bar is that low? Apparently. Lily tugged on Ethan's sleeve. Daddy, can Ava come over sometime? He blinked. What? I like her. She's nice. Sweetheart, I'm sure Ava is very busy. I'm not that busy, Ava said, surprising herself again. Ethan looked at her. Really? I work most nights and I have class 3 mornings a week, but I'm free some afternoons. Why would you want to spend time with us? It was a genuine question. Ava considered it. Because your daughter is sweet and she deserves better than being forgotten on street corners, she said. And because you seem like you're trying, but you have no idea what you're doing. Ethan's jaw tightened. I'm doing my best. Your best involved leaving a 6-year-old alone for 5 hours. I made a mistake. You made a choice. Work over family. You chose wrong. The table went silent. Lily looked between them, breadstick forgotten in her hand. Ethan's face had gone hard. You don't know anything about me, he said quietly. I know enough. Do you? His voice was cold now. Do you know that I built my company from nothing? That I spent 10 years working 100-hour weeks to create something that actually helps kids learn? That I employ 3,000 people and I'm responsible for their livelihoods? None of that matters if you're failing your own child. I'm not... He stopped. I love my daughter. I'm sure you do, but love isn't enough if you're never there. Ethan's hands clenched on the table. Her mother died 3 years ago. I'm all Lily has left. I'm trying to give her a good life. The information hit Ava like cold water. She looked at Lily, who had gone very quiet. I'm sorry, Ava said softly. I didn't know. How could you? Ethan's voice was bitter. You met us an hour ago and you've already decided I'm a terrible father. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. Lily's eyes were filling with tears. Ava felt sick. I'm sorry, she said again. I shouldn't have... No, you're right. Ethan's anger deflated suddenly. I do choose work over family every single day. I tell myself it's to provide for Lily, to build a future for her, but the truth is... He stopped, looking at his daughter. The truth is, work is easier. Work makes sense. I know how to close deals and manage teams. I don't know how to be a single dad to a little girl who lost her mother. Lily climbed into his lap and hugged him. You're a good dad. I left you on a street corner for 5 hours, sweetheart. But you came back. That's not good enough. It's okay, Lily whispered. I forgive you. Ethan closed his eyes. When he opened them again, they were wet. Ava looked away, giving them privacy. She took another slice of pizza and chewed slowly, not tasting it anymore. I need to do better, Ethan said, mostly to himself. I need to figure this out. Maybe start by having dinner with her every night, Ava suggested quietly. I'm usually at the office until 9. Then leave earlier. It's not that simple. It literally is. Ethan looked at her. You really don't pull punches, do you? Would you prefer I lie? I'd prefer you understand that running a billion-dollar company requires more than your daughter requires, Ava interrupted. He had no answer to that. They finished eating in tense silence. Lily fell asleep against her father's chest, exhausted from the long night. Ethan paid the bill with a black credit card that made the waiter's eyes widen. Outside, the street was quieter now, past 1 in the morning. Ava should have left an hour ago. Where do you live? Ethan asked. Riverside Gardens, about 12 blocks. I'll get you a car. I can walk. It's 1 in the morning. I've walked home later than this. He pulled out his phone anyway and ordered a car through some app. 30 seconds later, a black sedan pulled up to the curb. Get in, Ethan said. Please. Ava was too tired to argue. She climbed into the back seat. Ethan leaned down to the window. Thank you, he said, for everything tonight. Take care of your daughter. I will. He hesitated. Can I call you? About Lily wanting to see you again? Ava should have said no. She should have gone home and never thought about these people again. Instead, she recited her phone number. Ethan typed it into his phone. I'll text you. Okay. The car pulled away. Ava watched Ethan and Lily disappear in the rear window, a billionaire and his daughter standing alone on an empty street, both of them looking lost. The driver dropped her at Riverside Gardens. Ava climbed 9 flights of stairs because the elevator was broken again. She unlocked her apartment, dropped her bag on the floor, and collapsed on the second-hand couch she'd bought for $50 on Craigslist. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. This is Ethan Carter. Thank you again for tonight. I mean it. Ava stared at the message for a long time. Then she typed back. Ava, feed your daughter breakfast tomorrow. Ethan, I will. She set her phone down and closed her eyes. Tomorrow she had class at 7, then a double shift starting at 11. The bills on her counter weren't going to pay themselves. Her life was exactly the same as it had been 12 hours ago, broke, exhausted, barely surviving. But for some reason, she couldn't stop thinking about a little girl in a cream-colored coat and a father who loved his daughter but didn't know how to show it. Ava fell asleep on the couch, still wearing her work clothes, and dreamed of nothing at all. Ava's alarm went off at 6:15, which meant she'd slept exactly 4 hours and 32 minutes. She silenced it and lay on the couch for another 3 minutes, staring at the water stain on her ceiling that looked like a deformed elephant. Her body protested when she finally sat up. The double shift had left bruises on her hip bones from leaning against counters, and her lower back felt like someone had taken a hammer to it. She limped to the bathroom and turned on the shower, waiting the usual 90 seconds for the water to get lukewarm. The shower lasted 6 minutes because that's all her building's ancient water heater could manage before turning ice cold. She dressed in jeans and a sweater that had seen better years, grabbed her backpack, and headed out. The walk to campus took 40 minutes. Ava had done the math once. If she walked instead of taking the bus 5 days a week, she saved about $60 a month. $60 meant she could buy the generic cereal instead of skipping breakfast. It meant keeping the electricity on when the bill ran late. So she walked. The early education building was one of the newer structures on campus, all glass and steel and inspirational quotes etched into the walls. Ava always found the quotes irritating. "Every child is gifted," one of them read. Sure, she thought. Try telling that to the school systems that gave up on kids like her brother before they hit 4th grade. Her class was educational psychology, taught by Professor Morrison, a woman in her 60s who'd spent 30 years in actual classrooms before moving to academia. Ava respected her. Most of the other professors talked about teaching like it was theoretical. Morrison talked about it like war. "Good morning," Morrison said as students filtered in. Pop quiz. The class groaned collectively. Ava pulled out a pencil. She'd read the assigned chapters on the bus last week, using the overhead light because her apartment's electricity had been shut off for 3 days. The quiz was 10 questions, multiple choice. Ava finished in 8 minutes and spent the remaining time fighting to keep her eyes open. She'd drunk gas station coffee on the walk over, but caffeine could only do so much against 4 hours of sleep. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. She ignored it. Morrison had a strict no-phones policy, and Ava couldn't afford to piss off one of the few professors who actually seemed to care about their students. The quiz ended. Morrison collected the papers and launched into a lecture about developmental stages and learning disabilities. Ava took notes in the margins of her notebook because she'd filled all the actual pages and couldn't afford a new one yet. 45 minutes in, her phone buzzed again. And again. And again, Morrison noticed. "Ms. Collins, is there an emergency?" "No, ma'am. I'm sorry." "Then silence your phone or leave it outside." Ava nodded and tried to focus on the lecture. But whoever was texting her wasn't stopping. Her phone vibrated against her leg like an angry bee. The class ended at 8:30. Ava packed her notebook and checked her phone in the hallway. 7 texts from an unknown number. No, not unknown. Ethan Carter. "Ethan, good morning. Lily wanted me to tell you she had pancakes for breakfast." "Ethan, she's asking when she can see you again." "Ethan, I know you're probably busy, but she won't stop talking about you." "Ethan, not trying to pressure you, just letting you know you made an impression." "Ethan, she drew you a picture. It's of the 3 of us eating pizza." "Ethan, I'm attaching it." The image loaded. It was a child's crayon drawing, 3 stick figures around a table. One had yellow hair labeled AVA. One had dark hair and a tie labeled Daddy. The smallest one, also with dark hair, was labeled Me. Above them in shaky letters, "Best night ever." The seventh text came through while Ava was staring at the picture. Ethan, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have sent all this. You have your own life. Forget I said anything. Ava stood in the hallway while students flowed around her like water around a stone. She should delete the texts. She should block the number. She should go to her next class and forget about the billionaire and his neglected daughter. She typed back instead. Ava, tell Lily I love the drawing. I'm free Thursday afternoon if she wants to hang out. The response came in seconds. Ethan, really? Ava, really, but I'm not coming to wherever you live. I'll meet you somewhere normal. Ethan, define normal. Ava, anywhere that doesn't have a valet or a dress code. Ethan, the park on Riverside and 8th, there's a playground. Ava, 3 p.m. works. Ethan, thank you, seriously, she's going to be so excited. Ava, don't thank me yet, I might be a terrible influence. Ethan, impossible. You gave her your last meal. That makes you basically a saint. Ava, I'm definitely not a saint. Ethan, Lily thinks you are. That's good enough for me. Ava put her phone away and headed to the library. She had 3 hours before her shift started, and a paper due Friday that she hadn't started yet. The topic was differentiated instruction strategies for diverse learners, and she had exactly 0 ideas. The library was warm and quiet. Ava found a desk in the corner and opened her laptop, a 5-year-old machine that took 3 minutes to boot up and crashed randomly. She started researching, taking notes on scrap paper she'd grabbed from the recycling bin. 2 hours disappeared. Ava had a rough outline and the beginnings of an argument when her laptop screen went black. Not asleep. Dead. She pressed the power button. Nothing. She held it down. Still nothing. No, 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 no! She tried unplugging it and plugging it back in. The charging light didn't come on. The laptop was dead. Actually dead. And Ava had maybe $200 in savings, which meant a new computer was about as feasible as a trip to the moon. She put her head down on the desk and breathed slowly through her nose. This was fine. She could use the library computers. She'd just have to get here early every day and hope they were available. Her phone buzzed. Luis, Maria's sick. Can you cover tonight and her lunch shift tomorrow? Ava closed her eyes. She was already scheduled for a double today. Adding tomorrow's lunch shift meant working from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., then turning around and doing it again Thursday. But she needed the money, especially now. Ava, yeah, I can cover. Luis, you're a lifesaver. See you at 11. Ava gathered her things and walked to Riverside Bistro. The lunch rush was already starting when she arrived. Derek was in a mood. Apparently the morning crew had screwed up inventory, and now they were short on salmon. Figure it out, he snapped at the line cook. Then to Ava, you're on tables 1 through 12. 12 tables. That was nearly half the restaurant. Ava tied on her apron and got to work. The lunch crowd was business people and tourists, both groups equally demanding and both terrible tippers. Ava smiled through requests for substitutions, complaints about wait times, and one man who sent his burger back 3 times before deciding he actually wanted a salad. By 2 p.m., her feet were screaming. By 4, she'd stopped feeling them entirely. She was running on autopilot. Take orders, deliver food, clear tables, smile, smile, smile. At 6, Derek cornered her by the coffee station. You picked up Maria's shift tomorrow too? Yeah. You know that's a double after a double, right? I know. He studied her. You good? It was the closest thing to concern Derek had ever shown. Ava nodded. I'm fine. You look like hell. Thanks. I'm serious. When's the last time you had a day off? Ava tried to remember. 2 weeks ago? Maybe 3. Derek shook his head. You're going to burn out. Can't afford to burn out. Can't afford to collapse on my floor either. Take Sunday off. I'm scheduled Sunday dinner. I'll cover it. Take the day. Ava wanted to argue. Sunday tips were good. But Derek had already walked away. She went back to her tables. The dinner rush hit at 7. Ava was in the middle of taking an order from a family of 5 when her phone buzzed. She ignored it. It buzzed again. And again. The mother at the table gave her a pointed look. I'm so sorry, Ava said. What were you saying about the salmon? She finished the order and ducked into the back to check her phone. 12 missed calls from a number she didn't recognize. A voicemail. She pressed play. Ms. Collins, this is Riverside Gardens Management calling about your rent. We show you're 8 days late on November's payment. Please contact us immediately to arrange payment or we'll have to begin eviction proceedings. Our office hours are… Ava deleted the message. She knew she was late. She'd been planning to pay it Friday after she got her check. 8 days wasn't that late. They were just being aggressive. Another text came through, this time from Ethan. Ethan, Lily's been practicing what she wants to show you on Thursday. Fair warning, it involves a lot of gymnastics. Despite everything, Ava smiled. Ava, I look forward to it. Ethan, she also wants to know your favorite color so she can make you something. Ava, blue. Ethan, dark blue or light blue? Ava, she's very thorough. Ethan, you have no idea. Ava, medium blue, like the sky right before it gets dark. Ethan, specific, I like it. Ava! Derek's voice cut through the kitchen. Table 7 needs their check. She shoved her phone in her pocket and got back to work. The shift ended at 11, same as always. Ava's tips for the double came to $83, which was decent. She split it with the busser and the bartender and walked out with $62 in her pocket. She added it to the small envelope in her bag where she kept her rent money. $340 now. Still $260 short. The walk home was cold and dark and long. Ava's mind kept circling back to the eviction message. They wouldn't really kick her out over 8 days, would they? She'd been late before and they'd always worked with her, but 8 days was longer than she'd ever been late. She climbed the 9 flights of stairs and unlocked her apartment. The stack of bills on the counter had grown. Electric bill, water bill, student loan payment, credit card minimum, all overdue. Ava sat on the floor and sorted them by urgency. Electricity first. She couldn't live without power. Rent second, water third. The student loans could wait another month. The credit card would just add another late fee. She did the math 3 times and came up short every time. Even with the extra shifts, even with Derek giving her Sunday off to save money, she was drowning. Her phone buzzed. Ethan. Still awake? It was past midnight. Ava should have been asleep an hour ago. Ava. Unfortunately. Ethan. Can't sleep or won't sleep? Ava. Can't afford to sleep. Too much to worry about. She regretted sending it immediately. She didn't know this man. She didn't need to dump her problems on him. Ethan. Anything I can help with? Ava. Unless you're secretly a miracle worker, probably not. Ethan. Try me. Ava stared at the text. She could tell him. She could admit that she was 8 days late on rent and her laptop had died and she was one broken leg away from complete financial collapse. But what would that accomplish? He'd either offer her money, which she wouldn't take, or he'd pity her. Neither option appealed. Ava. Just normal broke person stuff. Nothing dramatic. Ethan. I was broke once, before I started the company. Ava. Somehow I doubt you were sleeping on the floor broke. Ethan. You'd be surprised. I maxed out 4 credit cards and lived in my car for 3 months while building the first prototype. Ava. That's different. You chose that. You knew it was temporary. Ethan. Did I? I had no idea if the company would succeed. I just knew I couldn't work for anyone else anymore. Ava. Must be nice to have options. Ethan. You have options too. Ava. Do I? Ethan. You're smart. You're getting your teaching degree. You're going to have a career. Ava. In 5 years, maybe. If I don't starve first. The text stopped. Ava figured she'd said too much and he'd gotten uncomfortable. Rich people always got uncomfortable when you talked about being actually poor. Then her phone rang. Ethan's name on the screen. She answered without thinking. Hello? Hi. His voice was quiet, like he was trying not to wake someone. I'm calling because texting about this felt wrong. About what? Can I ask you something? And you promise to tell me the truth? Ava's stomach nodded. Okay. When's the last time you had a real meal? I ate pizza with you and Lily last night. Before that, Ava thought. I don't know. A few days? How many days? I'm not sure. 4? 5? Silence on the other end. Ethan? You gave Lily your only food, he said quietly. You hadn't eaten in 5 days and you gave a stranger your sandwich. She was hungry. So were you. She's 6. I'm 30. I can handle being hungry. That's not... He stopped. Jesus, Ava. Don't. Don't what? Don't pity me. I'm fine. You're not fine. You're working yourself to death and you can't afford to eat. Lots of people can't afford to eat. I'm not special. You are to Lily. That hit differently. Ava pulled her knees to her chest and pressed her forehead against them. I shouldn't have told you any of this, she said. I'm glad you did. Why? So you can feel bad for the poor waitress? So I can help. I don't want your help. Why not? Because I don't want to owe you anything. Ethan was quiet for a moment. What if you didn't owe me? What if it wasn't charity? Then what would it be? A job? Ava lifted her head. What? You're getting your teaching degree. You understand how kids learn. You have patience and compassion, and you actually give a damn. He paused. I could use someone like you at the company. Doing what? We're developing new educational software for elementary students. I need people who understand how young kids think. Most of my team are engineers and developers. They're brilliant, but they've never spent time in a classroom. I haven't either, not as a teacher. But you understand kids. You proved that with Lily. Ava's heart was pounding. I don't have the qualifications you need. What qualifications? A degree you don't have yet? I don't care about credentials. I care about whether you can do the work. This is insane. Why? Because we met 12 hours ago and you want to hire me? I want to interview you. There's a difference. Ava stood up and paced her tiny apartment. Even if I interviewed, I wouldn't get the job. I don't know anything about software development. You don't need to. That's what the developers do. I need someone who can tell them if their ideas will actually work for kids. I'm not qualified for that either. Ava. His voice was firm. Stop telling me what you can't do and think about what you can do. She stopped pacing. Why are you doing this? Because you helped my daughter when you didn't have to. Because you gave away your last meal to a stranger. Because I think you'd be good at this and you need a break. He paused. And because watching you work yourself to death over $60 tips makes me sick. You don't know anything about me. I know enough. Ava sat back down on the floor. Her mind was spinning. A job at a tech company would mean steady income, benefits, maybe enough money to actually breathe. But it also meant accepting help from someone she barely knew. It meant owing Ethan Carter something, even if he claimed she didn't. I need to think about it, she said. Take all the time you need. I'm serious. This is a lot. I understand. Just promise me you'll consider it. I will. And Ava? Yeah? Eat something tomorrow, please. She almost laughed. I'll try. I'm serious. So am I. Food costs money. Then let me... No. Ava? I said no. I'll figure it out. He sighed. You're stubborn. You're pushy. Fair. She could hear the smile in his voice. I should let you sleep. You have class tomorrow, right? And a double shift. How many hours are you working this week? I don't know, 70, 80? That's illegal. Only if someone reports it. That can't be sustainable. It's not, but it's what I've got. Ava rubbed her eyes. I really should sleep. Okay, but think about the interview, all right? I will. And Thursday still works? 3 p.m. at the park? Yeah, I'll be there. Lily's going to be so excited. Tell her I'm excited too. Are you? Ava surprised herself by realizing she was. Yeah, actually I am. Good. Get some sleep, Ava. You too. She hung up and sat in the dark apartment, staring at her phone. A job interview at a billion-dollar company. It was absurd. She had no business even considering it, but she was considering it because the alternative was drowning, and she was so tired of drowning. Ava set her alarm for 6 and fell asleep on the floor, still in her work clothes, dreaming of nothing and everything at once. The next 2 days blurred together. Ava worked the double shifts, slept 4 hours each night, and survived on gas station coffee and whatever free bread the restaurant let her take home. Her body moved on autopilot. Take orders, smile, deliver food, clear tables, repeat. Wednesday night, a man at table 5 grabbed her wrist when she was clearing his plate. You forgot my extra napkins, he said. I'll get them right now, sir. His grip tightened. I asked for them 10 minutes ago. I'm sorry, we're short-staffed tonight. I don't care. Do your job. Derek appeared from nowhere. Sir, let go of my employee. The man released her wrist. She's incompetent. And you're drunk. Pay your bill and leave. The man threw cash on the table and stormed out. Derek turned to Ava. You okay? Her wrist was red where he'd grabbed it. I'm fine. Go take 5 in the back. I don't need... That wasn't a request. Ava went to the kitchen and sat on a milk crate by the freezer. Her hands were shaking. She hated that they were shaking. She'd dealt with worse customers than that. But something about the way he'd grabbed her, the casual violence of it, had cracked something inside her. Her phone buzzed. Ethan. Reminder that tomorrow is park day. Lily has been talking about it non-stop. Ava. Still on. 3 p.m. Ethan. You sound stressed. Everything okay? Ava. Long shift. I'll be fine. Ethan. Have you thought about the interview? She had. She'd thought about nothing else during her few waking moments that weren't consumed by work or school. Ava. Yeah. Ethan. And? Ava. I'll do it. Ethan. Really? Ava. Really? I don't know what I can offer, but I'll try. Ethan. That's all I'm asking. How's Friday afternoon? 2 p.m.? Ava. I have class until 1. Can we do 3? Ethan. Perfect. I'll text you the address. Ava. This doesn't mean I'm going to get the job. Ethan. No, but it means you have a chance. That's more than you had yesterday. He was right. Ava stood up and went back to the floor. Thursday afternoon finally arrived. Ava had exactly 2 hours between the end of her class and when she needed to meet Ethan and Lily. She went home, changed out of her school clothes into jeans and a sweater that didn't smell like restaurant grease, and walked to the park. She got there 10 minutes early. The playground was full of kids running and screaming while their parents sat on benches scrolling through phones. Ava found an empty bench and sat down. At exactly 3 p.m., she saw them. Lily came running across the grass in a purple jacket and light-up sneakers, Ethan trailing behind her in jeans and a casual button-down that probably still cost more than Ava's monthly rent. The billionaire looked different in daylight, younger, less severe, almost normal. Ava! Lily crashed into her with a hug that nearly knocked her off the bench. Hey, kiddo. Ava hugged her back. I like your shoes. They light up when I jump. Watch. Lily proceeded to jump up and down, her shoes flashing red and blue. Ethan caught up, slightly out of breath. She's been jumping since we left the car. I can tell. Ava smiled at him. Hi. Hi. He sat down beside her. Thanks for coming. Thanks for inviting me. Lily grabbed Ava's hand. Come on, I want to show you the monkey bars. For the next hour, Ava let a 6-year-old drag her around a playground. She watched Lily go down the slide approximately 40 times, helped her across the monkey bars, and pushed her on the swings until her arms were sore. Ethan stayed close but let them have their space. Ava caught him watching them a few times with an expression she couldn't quite read. Eventually, Lily wore herself out and collapsed on the grass. Ava sat beside her while Ethan went to get water from a nearby vendor. I really like you, Lily said, staring up at the sky. I really like you too. Are you going to be my friend? I think I already am. Lily rolled onto her side. Daddy likes you too. Ava's cheeks flushed. He barely knows me. He talks about you a lot. What does he say? That you're nice and smart and that you helped me when I was scared. Lily paused. He said he wants to help you too. He told you that? I heard him on the phone with someone. He said you were special and he wanted to make sure you were okay. Ava didn't know what to say to that. Ethan returned with 3 bottles of water. He handed one to Lily and one to Ava. What are we talking about? He asked. Nothing, Lily said quickly, too quickly. Ethan raised an eyebrow, but didn't push it. They sat in the grass together as the afternoon faded into evening. Lily talked about school and her piano lessons and a girl in her class who was mean to her. Ava listened and asked questions and gave the kind of gentle advice she wished someone had given her at that age. Ethan mostly stayed quiet, but Ava felt his attention on her. Not uncomfortable exactly, just present. When the sun started setting, Lily yawned. Time to go, sweetheart, Ethan said. I don't want to. I know, but Ava probably has things to do. Lily looked at her hopefully. Do you? I have a shift at 6, Ava admitted. See? Ethan stood and pulled Lily to her feet. We'll see Ava again soon. Tomorrow? She's busy tomorrow, but soon. Lily hugged Ava goodbye, holding on longer than necessary. When she finally let go, Ethan walked her toward the parking lot, then jogged back alone. She's waiting in the car, he explained. I wanted to talk to you for a second. Okay. Tomorrow. The interview. I need you to know something first. Ava braced herself. What? I'm not offering you this opportunity because I feel sorry for you. I'm offering it because I think you'd be genuinely good at the work. Do you believe me? She studied his face. I want to. But you don't. I don't know you well enough to know when you're lying. He smiled slightly. Fair, then let me prove it tomorrow. Come to the interview, meet the team, see the work we're doing. If you still think I'm just being charitable, walk away. No hard feelings. And if I don't get the job, then you don't get it. I'm not going to hand you something you didn't earn, but I think you'll surprise yourself. Ava wanted to believe him. She wanted it so badly it scared her. Okay, she said. Tomorrow, at 3. I'll text you the address. He hesitated. Thank you for today. Lily hasn't been this happy in a long time. She's a great kid. She is, because her mom was a great person. His expression shifted. I wish you could have met her. What was she like? Kind, patient, everything I'm not. He looked toward the parking lot where Lily was waiting. She would have liked you. You don't know that. Yeah, I do. She always said the best people were the ones who helped without expecting anything back. That's you. Ava's throat tightened. I should go. My shift starts soon. Right, of course. Ethan stepped back. See you tomorrow. See you tomorrow. She walked away before he could say anything else, before the emotions rising in her chest could spill over. She couldn't afford to cry in public, couldn't afford to want things she couldn't have, but as she walked to work, she let herself hope. Just a little, just enough. Friday morning arrived with freezing rain and the distinct feeling that Ava had made a terrible mistake. She woke up at 6, taught herself it was nerves and not genuine dread, and forced herself through her morning routine. The interview was at 3. She had 9 hours to panic. Class was a blur. Professor Morrison was discussing classroom management techniques, but Ava couldn't focus. Her mind kept circling back to the same thoughts. What was she doing? She was a broke waitress with an incomplete degree. Ethan ran a billion-dollar company. This whole thing was ridiculous. Her phone buzzed during the lecture. Ethan, good luck today. Not that you need it. Ava typed back quickly, one hand hidden under her desk. Ava, I definitely need it. Ethan, just be yourself. That's what impressed me. Ava, being myself is exactly what got me into this mess. Ethan, what mess? You're interviewing for a job you're qualified for. Ava, I'm not qualified, we both know that. Ethan, see you at 3. He'd stopped arguing, which somehow made it worse. Ava shoved her phone back in her pocket and tried to focus on the lecture. Morrison was talking about dealing with difficult parents, which felt painfully relevant given that Ava was about to walk into a corporate office and pretend she belonged there. Class ended at 1. Ava had 2 hours. She went home and stood in front of her tiny closet, staring at her limited options. She owned exactly 3 outfits that weren't work clothes or ratty jeans. A black dress she'd bought for her brother's funeral 4 years ago. A pair of slacks with a small stain on the knee that she'd never been able to remove. And a gray sweater that had a hole in the left sleeve. She chose the slacks and sweater. The hole wasn't that noticeable if she kept her arm down. She borrowed makeup from the girl across the hall, a nursing student who Ava sometimes chatted with in the laundry room, and did her best to look professional. The result was underwhelming. She looked like exactly what she was, someone who couldn't afford better. Ava stared at her reflection and felt the panic rising again. This was stupid. She should cancel. She should text Ethan and tell him she'd made a mistake, and her phone buzzed. Ethan, the address is 1247 Industrial Boulevard, 14th floor. Tell security you're here for Ethan Carter and they'll send you up. No backing out now. Ava took the bus because she couldn't afford a car, and the walk would take 45 minutes. She got there at 2:50, which gave her 10 minutes to stand on the sidewalk and contemplate running away. The building was glass and steel, the kind of place that screamed money. Through the windows, she could see people in expensive suits moving purposefully through a marble lobby. Ava looked down at her stained slacks and wanted to disappear. She went inside anyway. The security guard at the front desk looked her up and down with barely concealed judgment. "Can I help you?" "I'm here to see Ethan Carter. I have an appointment at 3. The guard checked his computer, eyebrows rising slightly. "Name?" "Ava Collins." He picked up a phone, spoke quietly into it, then hung up. "Take the elevator to 14. Someone will meet you." The elevator was mirrored, which meant Ava had to watch herself rise 14 floors while her anxiety climbed with her. The sweater looked worse under the fluorescent lights. The hole in the sleeve was definitely noticeable. The doors opened to a reception area that was all white furniture and modern art. A woman in her 30s with perfect hair and a sharper suit stood waiting. "Ava Collins?" She extended a hand. "I'm Jennifer Park, VP of Product Development. Ethan asked me to bring you back." Ava shook her hand, acutely aware of how sweaty her palm was. "Nice to meet you." "Likewise. Follow me." They walked through an open office space where dozens of people sat at computers, typing intensely or talking in small groups. Everyone looked young, educated, and like they'd never worried about rent in their lives. Jennifer led her to a conference room with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. 3 people were already sitting at the table, 2 men and a woman, all in business casual, all looking at Ava like they were trying to figure out why she was there. "Have a seat," Jennifer said. "Ethan will join us in a moment." Ava sat. The chair was leather and expensive. Everything in this room was expensive. She felt like a stain on expensive fabric. "So," one of the men said. He was maybe 40, with glasses and a friendly smile. "I'm David Chen, lead developer. You're here to interview for the curriculum consultant position?" "I guess so. I'm not really sure what that means." "It means we build software and you tell us if it's any good for actual kids," the woman said. She was younger, late 20s, with bright red hair. "I'm Sophie Brennan, UX designer. We've been begging Ethan to hire someone who actually understands children for like 2 years. "I don't know if I understand children," Ava said honestly. "I'm still working on my teaching degree." "But you want to teach elementary school, right?" David asked. "2nd or 3rd grade, yeah." "Why?" "Because kids that age still think learning is fun, before the system." She stopped. "Sorry, I have opinions about the education system." "Good," Sophie said. "So do we. That's kind of the whole point of this company." The door opened and Ethan walked in, dressed in a suit but looking slightly harried. "Sorry I'm late. Conference call ran long." He took the empty seat at the head of the table and smiled at Ava. "Glad you made it." "Traffic wasn't bad," Ava said, which was a lie but seemed like the right thing to say. "Let's get started then." Ethan nodded to David. "Show her the reading module." David pulled up a laptop and turned it to face Ava. The screen showed a colorful interface with cartoon animals and simple words. "This is our phonics program for kindergarten through 2nd grade. Walk us through what you see." Ava studied it. The design was bright and engaging, the animation smooth. But something felt off. "It's well made," she said carefully. "But," Sophie prompted, "but it's moving too fast. The words are flashing for maybe 2 seconds each. That's not enough time for a struggling reader to process. They'll just guess or give up." The room went quiet. Ava's stomach dropped. "I'm sorry," she said quickly. "I don't know what I'm talking about." "No, you're absolutely right," David interrupted. "We've been arguing about the timing for 3 months. The design team wanted it fast to keep kids engaged, but I thought it was too quick for struggling readers." "It is too quick," Ava said. "Kids who are already good at reading won't need this program. You're building it for the kids who are behind, right? They need more time, and they need to be able to control the pace themselves." Sophie was typing notes furiously. "Keep going." I'd also changed the reward system. Right now it looks like you get a star for every word, but that's going to frustrate kids who can't get the words right. They'll see everyone else getting stars and feel stupid." "What would you do instead?" Jennifer asked. Ava thought about it. "Reward effort, not just correct answers. Give them points for trying, for coming back the next day, for spending time with the program. Make it so even kids who struggle feel successful." "That's good," Ethan said quietly. "What else?" The animals are cute, but they're all talking at once. It's overwhelming. Kids with attention difficulties are going to struggle with all that stimulation. I'd simplify it. One character at a time, clearer instructions, less noise. She kept going, pointing out things that bothered her about the interface. The font was too small. The instructions were too wordy. The color scheme was pretty, but might be hard for colorblind kids to navigate. The team asked questions and Ava answered them, getting more comfortable as they went. These people weren't judging her, they were actually listening, taking notes, arguing with each other about her suggestions. 40 minutes passed without Ava noticing. Finally, Ethan held up a hand. I think we've grilled her enough. He looked at Ava. Any questions for us? Why do you care about this? The words came out before she could stop them. You're a tech company. You could be building anything. Why education software for poor kids? The room shifted. Jennifer and David exchanged glances. Sophie looked at Ethan. Because I was one of those poor kids, Ethan said. My mom worked 3 jobs. I went to underfunded schools with 40 kids per classroom and teachers who were too burned out to care. I learned to read because a librarian stayed late twice a week to tutor me for free. Without her, I'd probably be working construction or dead. He paused. I got lucky. Most kids don't, so yeah, I could build anything, but I'd rather build something that gives kids like me a chance. Ava stared at him. He'd never mentioned this before. Never hinted at anything other than success. I didn't know that, she said quietly. Not many people do. It's not great for the brand. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Investors like self-made billionaires, not kids from Section 8 housing. That's stupid. That's business. He stood. Can you give us a minute? There's coffee in the break room down the hall if you want some. Ava nodded and left the conference room. The break room was predictably nice. Espresso machine, fresh fruit, snacks that weren't stale. She poured herself coffee and tried not to eavesdrop on the muffled conversation happening down the hall. She was on her second cup when Ethan appeared in the doorway. That was intense, she said. You did great. I basically just criticized your product for 40 minutes. That's exactly what I needed you to do. He poured himself coffee and leaned against the counter. So here's where we are. The team loved you. They want you on board. Ava's heart jumped. Really? Really? But I need to be honest about what this job actually is. It's not some made-up position to make you feel better. We genuinely need someone who thinks like you. You'd be sitting in on development meetings, testing prototypes with actual kids, giving feedback on everything we build. It's real work. Okay. The pay is $65,000 a year to start, plus benefits. Health insurance, dental, vision, 4 weeks vacation. We'd work around your class schedule until you finish your degree. Ava nearly dropped her coffee. $65,000? It's entry level for our company, but if that's not enough. Not enough? She laughed, slightly hysterical. I make $22,000 a year as a waitress. 65 is... That's not real. It's very real. I can have HR send over the formal offer if you want time to think about it. I don't need time, the words tumbled out. Yes? I mean, if you're serious, yes, I want the job. Ethan smiled, a real smile this time. Then it's yours. Can you start Monday? I need to give notice at the restaurant. Give them 2 weeks if you want. We'll pay you starting Monday regardless. Ava set down her coffee because her hands were shaking. This doesn't feel real. It's real. He stepped closer. You earned this. I need you to understand that. I didn't hire you because you helped Lily. I hired you because you're good at this. I spent 40 minutes insulting your software. You spent 40 minutes making it better. There's a difference. He pulled out his phone. I need to get back to meetings, but HR will email you the paperwork tonight. Read it over, sign it, and we'll see you Monday. Okay? She was still processing. Okay. Thank you. Stop thanking me. You did this yourself. He left. Ava stood alone in the break room, staring at nothing, trying to understand that her life had just changed completely. She took the bus home in a daze. The apartment looked different somehow, smaller, shabbier, but also temporary. She could leave this place. She could afford somewhere without broken elevators and water stains. Her phone rang. Derek. Hey, she answered. Luis said you picked up Maria's shift again tomorrow. You sure you want to do that? Actually, I need to talk to you about that. Ava took a breath. I'm giving my 2 weeks notice. I got another job. Silence. Then, you're serious? Yeah. Doing what? Working for an education technology company, consulting on curriculum development. That's, wow, that's huge, Ava. I know. You deserve it. You've been busting your ass here for 3 years. Thanks, Derek. So you'll work through Thanksgiving? If that helps you out, yeah, it does. And hey, good luck with the new gig. She hung up and sat on her terrible couch in her terrible apartment and cried. Not sad crying, the other kind. The kind that happened when something impossible became possible and you didn't know how to hold it. Her phone buzzed. Lily. Daddy said you got the job. This is Lily using Dad's phone. Ava laughed through her tears. Ava. I did. I start Monday. Lily. Are you going to work with my dad? Ava. Sometimes, yeah. Lily. That means I get to see you more. Can you come to dinner tomorrow? Please, please, please? Ava hesitated. Having dinner with Ethan and Lily felt different now that she worked for him. More complicated. Ethan's name replaced Lily's on the screen. He must have taken his phone back. Ethan. Sorry. She grabbed the phone out of my hand. You don't have to come to dinner. Ava. But she asked nicely. Ethan. She asks everything nicely. It's her superpower. Ava. What time? Ethan. 6. I'll text you the address. And Ava? Ava. Yeah? Ethan. Welcome to the team. Saturday passed in a strange blur. Ava worked her shift at the restaurant, moving through the familiar motions while her brain was elsewhere. She kept almost telling customers about her new job, then catching herself. It still didn't feel real. At 5:30, she changed in the restaurant bathroom and caught the bus to the address Ethan had sent. It was in a neighborhood she'd only ever seen from the outside, old brownstones converted to expensive single-family homes, trees lining the sidewalk, no litter anywhere. She found the right house and stood on the sidewalk, staring. It was 3 stories, brick, with a black front door and window boxes that probably had flowers in them during warmer months. This was where Lily lived, where Ethan lived. It was a home, not just a house. Ava could tell from the outside. She rang the doorbell. Footsteps thundered from inside, then the door flew open. Ava! Lily grabbed her hand and pulled her inside. Come see my room. Dad made pizza. We got a dog. Wait, what? Ava laughed as she was dragged through a hallway into a living room that was somehow both expensive and lived in. Toys scattered on the floor, books piled on the coffee table, a coat thrown over a chair. Ethan appeared from the kitchen, wearing jeans and a t-shirt, looking more relaxed than Ava had ever seen him. She's lying about the dog. We did not get a dog. I want a dog, Lily clarified. Daddy said maybe. I said we'd think about it. That's basically a yes. That's basically a we'll see. Lily made a face but was too excited to argue. Come on, Ava, I want to show you something. She led Ava upstairs to a bedroom that was painted pale purple and filled with books and stuffed animals and a small keyboard by the window. On the wall were dozens of drawings, most of them featuring stick figures and colorful scribbles. This one is you, Lily said, pointing to a recent addition, a yellow-haired figure with a big smile. And this is me, and that's Daddy. The 3 figures were holding hands under a rainbow. It's beautiful, Ava said honestly. I made it after the park, because you're our friend now. Something in Ava's chest tightened. I'm honored to be your friend. Lily, come set the table, Ethan called from downstairs. They went down to the kitchen, which was huge and modern and absolutely spotless except for the homemade pizza on the counter. Lily grabbed plates while Ethan cut the pizza into slices. You made this yourself? Ava asked. Don't sound so surprised. I can cook. Can you? Okay, no. I called a chef friend and she walked me through it over FaceTime. But I physically made it, so it counts. They ate at a table by the window overlooking a small backyard. The pizza was actually good. Not Vinny's good, but solid. Lily talked nonstop about school and her piano recital next month, and a boy named Marcus who kept stealing her erasers. Ava listened and asked questions and felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Safe. After dinner, Lily begged to watch a movie. Ethan agreed on the condition that she actually sat still for once in her life. They moved to the living room, Lily curling up between them on the couch with a blanket. The movie was some animated thing about talking animals. Ava had seen it before with her brother years ago. Halfway through, Lily fell asleep against Ava's shoulder. "She does that," Ethan whispered. "Uses people as pillows." "I don't mind." They watched the rest of the movie in comfortable silence. When it ended, Ethan carefully picked up Lily and carried her upstairs. Ava heard muffled voices, then footsteps returning. "She woke up just enough to tell me you have to stay forever," Ethan said, sitting back down. "Her words, not mine." "That's sweet. She really likes you." "I really like her." Ethan was quiet for a moment. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure." "Yesterday, during the interview, you looked terrified. Why did you come anyway?" Ava considered the question. "Because I'm tired of being scared. I've spent 3 years playing it safe, working terrible jobs, taking the bus to save $2, eating once a day so I can make rent. And where did it get me? I'm still broke. Still one emergency away from losing everything. So you decided to take a risk. I decided to trust that maybe, just maybe, I'm not as worthless as my bank account suggests." "You were never worthless?" "Easy to say when you have money. I told you, I was broke once too. For 3 months while you built a company. That's not the same as being broke your whole life." Ethan nodded slowly. "You're right. I'm sorry. Don't apologize. I'm just saying that risk looks different when you have nothing to lose. You had plenty to lose. Your job, your apartment, your routine. Familiar is comfortable even when it's terrible. Is that a billionaire philosophy?" "That's a human philosophy." He smiled. "I'm really glad you took the risk." "Me too." Ava checked her phone. "I should probably go. It's getting late." "Let me drive you." "I can take the bus." "Ava, it's 9:30 and you live 40 minutes away. Let me drive you." She almost argued, then stopped. She was tired of arguing, tired of making everything harder than it needed to be. "Okay, thank you." They walked to his garage where a sleek black car sat looking like it cost more than Ava's college tuition. The interior was leather and spotless. She felt guilty touching anything. The drive was quiet. Ava watched the neighborhoods change from nice to less nice to run down. When they pulled up to Riverside Gardens, Ethan stared at the building with an expression Ava couldn't read. "You live here," he said. "For now, I'm moving once I have some money saved." "When's your lease up?" "February?" "Where will you go?" "Somewhere with a working elevator." She opened the door. "Thanks for dinner and for driving me." "Ava, wait." She paused. "Monday, when you start, people are going to have opinions about how you got hired. They're going to assume things." "You mean they're going to think I slept with you to get the job?" He flinched. "I wasn't going to say it that bluntly, but yes." "Let them think what they want." "You say that now. I say it because I know I earned this job. You told me I did. If other people want to make up stories, that's their problem." She met his eyes. "Unless you're worried about your reputation." "I'm not worried about mine. I'm worried about yours." "I've had worse things said about me." She stepped out of the car. "See you Monday, boss." She closed the door and walked into the building without looking back. Behind her, she heard the car sit idle for a minute before driving away. Inside her apartment, Ava sat on the floor and opened her laptop, the dead one she'd forgotten about. On impulse, she tried the power button. It turned on. The battery icon showed 5%, but it was working. As mysteriously as it had come back to life. Ava took it as a sign. Things were changing. Things were possible. She spent the next hour researching Carter Educational Technologies, reading everything she could find about the company. Articles praised Ethan's innovative approach to learning software. Interviews where he talked about educational equity and closing achievement gaps. Photos of him at charity events and product launches, always looking composed and professional. In none of them did he mention growing up poor. In none of them did he look like the tired father she'd met on a street corner or the man who'd made pizza from a FaceTime tutorial. There were 2 Ethan Carters, the public one and the real one. Ava wondered which one she'd be working for. Sunday passed slowly. Derek had given her the day off, and for the first time in months, Ava had nothing to do. She slept until noon, then spent the afternoon at a laundromat washing every piece of clothing she owned. Tomorrow she'd need to look presentable, professional. She still had no idea what that meant. Her phone buzzed while she was folding her last load of laundry. Ethan, Lily wanted me to send you this. The photo showed a drawing of 3 people standing in front of a building. Ava's first day was written across the top in crayon. Ava saved it immediately. Ava, tell her I love it. Ethan, she's already planning your second day, your third day, and apparently your birthday party, even though I told her I don't know when your birthday is. Ava, March 14th. Ethan, she'll be thrilled. Fair warning, she takes birthdays very seriously. Ava, I'll prepare myself. She went to bed early, set 3 alarms, and lay awake staring at the ceiling for 2 hours before finally falling asleep. When the alarm went off at 6, she was already awake. Ava dressed in her best outfit, the black dress from her brother's funeral, which felt appropriate given how terrified she was. She added a cardigan to make it less formal, then studied herself in the mirror. She looked nervous. She looked broke. She looked like someone pretending to belong, but she was showing up anyway. The bus ride to the office felt longer than usual. Ava got there at 8:20, even though her start time was 9. She stood outside the building for 10 minutes, breathing slowly, telling herself she could do this. Then she went inside. The security guard from Friday recognized her. Ms. Collins, good morning. 14? Yes, thank you. The elevator ride was just as nerve-wracking as before. The doors opened to the reception area, where a different woman sat at the desk. Ava Collins. That's me. Welcome. I'm Rachel. I'll get you set up with badges and paperwork, then Jennifer will give you the tour. The next 2 hours were a blur of forms and ID photos and orientation videos about company policy. Rachel was efficient and friendly, acting like Ava belonged there. It helped, marginally. At 10:30, Jennifer appeared. Ready for the tour? Ava followed her through the office, meeting people whose names she immediately forgot. The engineering team, the design team, the QA department. Everyone was polite but curious, clearly wondering who she was and how she'd gotten here. Finally, Jennifer led her to a small office with a window overlooking the city. This is yours. Ava stared. I have an office? Everyone on the development team does. You'll need space to test prototypes and meet with kids. There's not much in here yet, but you can decorate however you want. The office was empty except for a desk, a chair, and a computer. But it was hers. Actually, hers. The team meeting is at 11, Jennifer continued. We'll go over the current projects and figure out where you fit. Sound good? Yeah, sounds good. Jennifer left. Ava stood alone in her office, still trying to process that this was real. She sat in the chair, expensive, ergonomic, nothing like the milk crate at the restaurant. Turned on the computer. Her name was already on the login screen. Ava Collins, curriculum consultant. She touched the screen like it might disappear. Her phone buzzed. Ethan. Jennifer says you're all set up. How's the office? Ava. I have an office. Ethan. You sound surprised. Ava. I am surprised. I thought I'd be at a cubicle or something. Ethan. You're consulting on curriculum development. You need privacy for that. Plus the kids we test with get overwhelmed in open spaces. Ava. You've thought this through. Ethan. I've been planning this hire for 6 months. You just happened to show up at the right time. The words settled something in Ava. This wasn't charity. This was real. Ava. Thank you for believing I could do this. Ethan. Thank you for proving me right. At 11, Ava walked into a conference room full of people. David, Sophie, Jennifer, and a half-dozen others she'd been introduced to but couldn't name yet. Ethan sat at the head of the table. Everyone, this is Ava Collins, our new curriculum consultant. Ava, welcome to your first team meeting. Don't let us scare you. Too late, Ava said, and got a few laughs. The meeting started. They discussed current projects, the reading modules she'd critiqued during her interview, a math game for 4th graders, a science program about ecosystems. People talked fast, using jargon Ava didn't understand, referencing decisions made before she'd arrived. She stayed quiet, taking notes, trying to follow. Halfway through, Sophie turned to her. Thoughts on the math game? We're stuck on the reward structure. Everyone looked at Ava. She wanted to disappear. I haven't seen it yet, she said carefully. Here. David pulled it up on the screen. Colorful interface, cartoon numbers, a point system that seemed complicated. Ava studied it. Can I be honest? That's literally your job, Ethan said. It's too complicated. Kids are going to spend more time figuring out how to earn points than actually learning math. That's what I said, Sophie muttered. What would you do instead? David asked. Simplify. Make it so every problem they solve builds something. A house, a garden, a spaceship. Kids like seeing progress. They like building things. But then where's the challenge? Someone asked. The challenge is the math. The building is the reward for doing it. The room went quiet. Then Ethan smiled. David, make that change. Next topic. The meeting continued. Ava contributed when asked and stayed silent when she had nothing to add. By the time it ended, her head was spinning. Ethan caught her in the hallway after. You did great in there. I barely said anything. You said exactly enough. That's a skill most people never learn. I felt useless. You're not. Give yourself time to catch up. He glanced at his watch. I have to run to another meeting, but come find me later if you need anything. Okay. She paused. Ethan? Yeah? Why me? Really? You could have hired someone with experience, someone with credentials. Why did you take a chance on me? He was quiet for a moment, considering. Because the people with credentials have stopped asking questions. They think they already know everything. You're still curious, still willing to say when something doesn't make sense. That's what we need here. That and someone who could call you out for being a bad father? That too, he smiled. See you later, Ava. He walked away, and Ava went back to her office. Her office. The word still felt foreign. She spent the rest of the day reading through project documents, trying to understand what the company was building. By 5 o'clock, her brain felt like mush. Jennifer knocked on her door. Heading out? I think so. Is that allowed? It's encouraged. We don't do the startup thing where everyone works until midnight. Go home. Rest. Tomorrow's another day. Ava packed her things and took the bus back to Riverside Gardens. Inside her apartment, she dropped her bag and collapsed on the couch. Her first day was done. She'd survived. Maybe even succeeded a little. Her phone buzzed. Lily. This is Lily. Did you have a good day at work with Daddy? Ava. I did. It was scary, but good. Lily. Daddy says you were really smart in the meeting. Ava. He's being nice. Lily. Daddy doesn't lie. He says lying is bad. Ava smiled. Ava. Tell your dad thank you for me. Lily. You can tell him yourself. He's right here. The phone switched to a call. Ethan's face filled the screen, Lily visible in the background. Sorry, he said. She insisted on video calling you. It's fine. Ava tried to fix her hair, then stopped. It didn't matter. Hi, Lily. Hi. The girl waved enthusiastically. Are you coming over for dinner again? Lily, Ethan warned. What? I'm just asking. Ava just had her first day of work. She's probably exhausted. I am pretty tired, Ava admitted. Lily's face fell. Oh, okay. But maybe this weekend, Ava heard herself say. If that works for you guys? Lily's face lit up again. Yes, Saturday. Daddy, can Ava come on Saturday? If she wants to, Ethan said, looking at Ava through the screen. No pressure. Saturday works, Ava said. They talked for a few more minutes before Lily got distracted by something off screen and Ethan said goodbye. Ava set down her phone and looked around her apartment. 4 days ago, she'd been a broke waitress with no prospects. Now she had a job, an office, a future. And somehow, impossibly, she'd found people who made her feel like she mattered. It wasn't perfect. She was still broke until her first paycheck, still living in a building with a broken elevator, still scared of screwing everything up. But for the first time in longer than she could remember, Ava let herself believe that things might actually be okay. The first week passed in a strange rhythm that Ava couldn't quite find her footing in. Monday had been terrifying. Tuesday was slightly less terrifying. By Wednesday, she'd stopped expecting someone to tell her there'd been a mistake and she needed to leave. She learned the names of her coworkers. David was patient and brilliant, explaining technical concepts without making her feel stupid. Sophie was direct and funny, the kind of person who said exactly what she thought without apology. Jennifer was professional but warm, checking in on Ava every afternoon to make sure she wasn't drowning. And Ethan was everywhere and nowhere. He'd appear in meetings, contribute ideas, then disappear to handle CEO responsibilities. Ava couldn't begin to understand. Sometimes she'd catch him watching her during presentations, his expression unreadable. Other times, she wouldn't see him for hours. It was easier when he wasn't around. When he was, Ava became hyper-aware of every word she said, every suggestion she made. She told herself it was because he was her boss. That's all it was. Thursday afternoon, she was testing a prototype with a group of second graders the company had brought in. 5 kids sat around her office, playing with the math game on tablets, while Ava took notes on what confused them and what didn't. "This number is too small," one girl complained, squinting at the screen. "Can you show me which one?" Ava asked. The girl pointed. She was right. The font was barely legible even for Ava. "Good catch," Ava said, writing it down. "What else bothers you?" "The robot talks too fast." "The colors hurt my eyes," another kid added. Ava documented everything. When the session ended and the kids left with their teachers, she had 3 pages of notes and a headache from the fluorescent lights. Sophie knocked on her open door. "How'd it go?" They hated the font, the color scheme, and the narrator's voice. "So, total success," Ava laughed. "Is that what success looks like here? When kids tell us what's wrong, we can fix it. When they're too polite to complain, we build garbage." Sophie sat on the edge of Ava's desk. "You're good at this, getting them to open up." "I just ask questions. Most adults don't. They assume kids will volunteer information, then get frustrated when they don't." She paused. "There's a company dinner tomorrow night. Team bonding thing. You should come." "Is it mandatory?" "No, but people will notice if you skip it, and not in a good way." Ava's stomach nodded. "What kind of dinner? Casual? Italian place downtown? Drinks? Appetizers? Bad jokes? Standard corporate bonding?" "I don't know if I can afford." "Company pays for everything. You just have to show up and pretend to like people." "I actually like people here." "Then it'll be easy." Sophie stood. 7 o'clock. "I'll text you the address." After she left, Ava sat staring at her computer screen without seeing it. A work dinner. Normal for everyone else, terrifying for her. She'd have to make conversation, be social, pretend she fit in with people who probably had college degrees and retirement accounts. Her phone buzzed. "Ethan, heard you're coming to dinner tomorrow." Ava. Sophie's very persuasive. "Ethan, she is. Fair warning. David gets drunk and starts arguing about programming languages. It's entertaining for about 10 minutes. Ava. I'll bring popcorn. Ethan. Also, Lily wants to know if you're still coming Saturday. Ava. Unless you've changed your mind. Ethan. Why would I change my mind? Ava. Because having your employee over for dinner is probably weird. Ethan. Is it weird for you? Ava thought about it. Was it weird? She was having dinner with her boss and his daughter, who she'd met before she got hired, who she genuinely liked spending time with. Ava. Honestly, a little, but I still want to come. Ethan. Good. Lily's been planning the menu all week. Apparently we're having mac and cheese, chicken nuggets, and ice cream for dinner. Ava. Sounds nutritionally balanced. Ethan. I managed to negotiate vegetables into the deal. She's making me cook broccoli. Ava. You're cooking? Ethan. Attempting to cook. There's a difference. Ava smiled at her phone, then caught herself. She was flirting. That's what this was. Casual, harmless flirting with her boss, which was both inappropriate and stupid. She put her phone away and got back to work. Friday evening came too fast. Ava finished her last meeting at 6 and went home to change. The dinner was casual, Sophie had said, but Ava's version of casual was different from everyone else's. She settled on dark jeans and the gray sweater, hoping the hole in the sleeve wouldn't be noticeable in dim restaurant lighting. The restaurant was called Giuseppe's, And it was exactly the kind of place Ava would never go on her own. Exposed brick, candlelit tables, a wine list she couldn't read. She arrived at 7:15, late enough not to be first, early enough not to be rude. Most of the team was already there, seated at a long table in the back. Sophie waved her over. "You made it!" "Barely." Ava slid into an empty chair between Sophie and David. "First drinks on me," Sophie said, flagging down a waiter. "What do you want?" "Just water." "Ava, this is a work dinner. You have to drink." "I don't really—" "Wine, beer, or cocktail?" "Wine, I guess." Sophie ordered 2 glasses of red without asking what kind. The waiter disappeared and returned with them moments later. Ava sipped hers carefully. It tasted expensive, which made her nervous about accidentally breaking the glass. The conversation flowed around her: work gossip, industry news, someone's terrible date last weekend. Ava listened more than she talked, trying to read the social dynamics. David was the gentle mediator. Sophie was the provocateur. Jennifer was the mom friend who made sure everyone ate something. And Ethan sat at the far end of the table, laughing at something one of the developers said. He looked relaxed in a way Ava rarely saw at the office. No suit, just jeans and a button-down with the sleeves rolled up. He caught her looking and raised his wine glass slightly in acknowledgement. Ava looked away, cheeks warm. Appetizers arrived. Fancy things Ava didn't have names for. She took small portions, hyper-aware of how she was eating, how she was sitting, whether she looked like she belonged. "So Ava," David said, turning to her, "what made you want to work in education?" It was a simple question, an obvious question, but Ava's throat tightened anyway. "My little brother," she said finally. "He struggled in school, dyslexia probably, but we couldn't afford to get him tested. His teachers just decided he was stupid and stopped trying. By 5th grade, he'd given up." The table had gone quiet. Ava realized everyone was listening. "What happened to him?" Sophie asked gently. "He dropped out at 16, got his GED eventually, but he never went to college. Last I heard, he was working construction in Arizona." Ava took a drink of wine. "I think about him sometimes, about how different his life could have been if just one teacher had given a damn." "That's why you're here," Jennifer said. "To give a damn." To try, anyway. The conversation shifted after that, but something had changed. People looked at her differently. Not with pity, exactly. More like understanding. Like they got why she cared so much about making software that actually helped kids instead of just looking impressive in board meetings. Dinner arrived. Ava ordered the cheapest pasta on the menu out of habit, then remembered the company was paying. The food was incredible, rich and complex, and nothing like the 99-cent ramen she'd been living on for years. David did start arguing about programming languages after his 3rd beer, exactly as Ethan had predicted. Sophie egged him on while Jennifer tried to mediate. Someone told a story about a product launch that went horribly wrong. Someone else complained about a difficult investor. Ava laughed in the right places and contributed when she had something to say. By the time dessert arrived, tiramisu she shared with Sophie, she'd almost forgotten to be nervous. Almost. The dinner ended around 10. People started saying goodbyes, calling cars, making plans for the weekend. Ava stood to leave and realized she'd had 3 glasses of wine on a mostly empty stomach. The room tilted slightly. "You okay?" Sophie asked. "Fine. Just need some air." She went outside where the November cold helped clear her head. The street was busy with Friday night traffic. Couples heading to bars, groups of friends laughing too loud. The normal chaos of people with money and free time. "Need a ride?" Ethan had followed her out. He'd put on a jacket, but still looked cold, his breath visible in the air. "I can take the bus," Ava said automatically. "The buses stop running in 40 minutes, and you live an hour away. Let me drive you." "You've been drinking." "1 glass 3 hours ago. I'm fine." He pulled out his phone. "Or I can call you a car if you don't want to ride with me." Ava considered it. She could take the bus and hope she didn't miss the last one. She could spend money she didn't have on a car service. Or she could accept help from someone offering it without strings attached. "Okay," she said. "Thank you." They walked to his car in silence. The interior was warm, the leather seats soft. Ava buckled in and leaned her head against the window. "You were quiet tonight," Ethan said, pulling into traffic. "I'm always quiet." "Not with Lily." Lily's 6. She doesn't judge me. You think the team judges you? I think they wonder why you hired someone with no qualifications. You have qualifications. You understand kids. That's literally the qualification. Ava didn't answer. The wine had made her tired and honest in a way she didn't like. She watched the city pass by. Bright lights and dark alleys, everything beautiful and ugly at once. Can I tell you something? Ethan said after a while. Sure. That story about your brother, that's exactly why I started this company. I was him. The kid teachers gave up on because I didn't learn the way they expected me to. But you figured it out. I got lucky. One librarian who stayed late to help me. One teacher who noticed I could code even though I couldn't read well. Most kids don't get that lucky. So you're trying to be the teacher who notices. I'm trying to build tools for the teachers who care, the ones who are drowning in paperwork and 40-kid classrooms and standardized tests. I can't fix the whole system, but maybe I can make their jobs a little easier. He glanced at her. That's what you're doing too, helping me make sure we're building the right tools. I mostly just criticize your work. That's helping. He smiled. You're harder on our products than any investor I've ever met. It's refreshing. They pulled up to Riverside Gardens. The building looked worse than usual next to Ethan's expensive car. Paint peeling, windows dark, someone's trash piled by the entrance. Thanks for the ride, Ava said. Ava, wait. She paused, hand on the door. Tomorrow. Dinner with Lily. I need to make sure you know you don't have to come. I don't want you to feel obligated because I'm your boss. I don't feel obligated. I want to see Lily. Just Lily? The question hung in the air. Ava's heart was doing something complicated in her chest. I want to see both of you, she said quietly. Is that okay? Yeah. His voice was rough. That's okay. Ava got out of the car and walked into the building without looking back. Behind her, she heard the engine idle for a moment before driving away. Inside her apartment, she collapsed on the couch and stared at the ceiling. This was getting complicated. She liked Ethan. More than liked him, probably. And he seemed to like her too, in a way that went beyond boss and employee. But he was a billionaire. She was barely surviving. He had a daughter who needed stability, not her father dating someone who couldn't afford new shoes. This could never work, even if they both wanted it to. Her phone buzzed. Lily. This is Lily again. Daddy says you're still coming tomorrow. I'm so excited I can't sleep. Ava. You should try to sleep. Tomorrow will come faster that way. Lily. Will you bring me something? Ava. Like what? Lily. A surprise. Surprises are the best. Ava. I'll see what I can do. She set her phone down and thought. A surprise for Lily. Something small but meaningful. Something that didn't scream, I'm too broke to buy real presents. The next morning, Ava walked to the craft store near campus and spent 30 minutes browsing with her limited budget in mind. She finally settled on supplies to make a bracelet, colorful beads and elastic string, $5 total. She sat in her apartment and carefully threaded the beads, spelling out Lily in letter beads surrounded by purple and pink. It was cheap, homemade. Probably not what Lily had in mind when she asked for a surprise. But it was what Ava had to give. At 5:30, she got ready. The same jeans and sweater again because it was her only decent outfit. She caught the bus to Ethan's neighborhood and arrived exactly at 6. Lily answered the door wearing a dress covered in glitter and a tiara that sat crooked on her head. You're here! She grabbed Ava's hand. Do you like my outfit? I dressed up for you. You look beautiful, Ava said honestly. Come in. Daddy's making dinner, but he burned something and had to start over. They went inside. The house smelled like smoke and something savory. Ethan emerged from the kitchen looking stressed, his hair sticking up like he'd been running his hands through it. Small fire, he announced, but it's under control now. You started a fire? Ava tried not to laugh. The broccoli caught. Don't ask me how. I followed the recipe exactly. Can broccoli catch fire? Apparently yes. Lily tugged on Ava's sleeve. Did you bring me a surprise? I did. Ava pulled the bracelet from her pocket. I made this for you. Lily's eyes went wide. She took the bracelet carefully, like it was made of glass. You made it. I'm not very good at crafts, but I tried. It's perfect. Lily slipped it onto her wrist immediately. Look, Daddy, it has my name. Ethan looked at the bracelet, then at Ava. Something in his expression made her chest tight. "It's great, sweetheart," he said softly. Dinner was the promised mac and cheese and chicken nuggets, plus the burned broccoli that Ethan had salvaged into something edible. They ate at the kitchen table while Lily talked nonstop about her week. A test she'd done well on, a friend's birthday party, a book she was reading about dragons. After dinner, Lily wanted to play a board game. They spent an hour playing something involving ladders and slides that made no sense to Ava but delighted Lily. Ethan kept landing on the wrong spaces and sliding back to the start, which made his daughter laugh so hard she nearly fell off her chair. "You're bad at this game, Daddy. I'm strategically losing so you can win. You're just bad." Ava watched them together and felt something she couldn't name. This was what family looked like. Messy and loud and imperfect, but real. She'd forgotten what real felt like. At 8:30, Ethan declared it bedtime. Lily protested but was clearly exhausted, yawning between arguments. She hugged Ava goodnight, holding on extra long. "Will you come back again?" she whispered. "If your dad says it's okay." "He'll say yes. He always smiles when you're here." Before Ava could respond, Ethan scooped Lily up and carried her toward the stairs. "Come on, dragon girl. Time to brush your teeth." Ava cleaned up the board game while they were gone. She was putting the pieces back in the box when Ethan returned. "She's down," he said. "Took 3 stories and a promise that you'd come to her piano recital next month." "I didn't agree to that." "Too late. She's already planning your outfit." Ava laughed. "She's persistent." "That's one word for it." He sat on the couch and patted the space beside him. "Come here. We need to talk." Ava's stomach dropped. Those words never led anywhere good. She sat down anyway, keeping a careful distance between them. "Did I do something wrong?" she asked. "No, the opposite." He turned to face her. "Ava, this is going to come out badly no matter how I say it, so I'm just going to say it. I like you." Her heart stopped. "I've liked you since the night you gave Lily your sandwich, and it's gotten worse since you started working for me. I think about you constantly. I look for excuses to stop by your office. I volunteered to drive you home last night because I wanted 20 more minutes alone with you." He ran a hand through his hair. "This is completely inappropriate. You work for me. There's a power dynamic that makes this impossible, but I needed you to know." Ava stared at him. "Why?" "Because I'm tired of pretending, and because I think you might feel the same way, but you're not saying anything because you think it's one-sided or because you're worried about your job. Both of those things are true. The job is yours regardless of what happens between us. I need you to understand that. You're good at what you do. You've made our products better in 3 weeks than the last consultant did in 6 months. This isn't charity. This isn't me trying to sleep with an employee. You earned your place here." "Ethan, I'm not asking you to do anything about it. I just needed you to know that my feelings aren't professional anymore. If that makes you uncomfortable, tell me. I'll back off. We'll keep things strictly work-related, and I'll never bring it up again." Ava's mind was spinning. "What if I don't want you to back off?" His eyes met hers. "Then we have a problem. Because you're my boss." "Because I'm your boss, and I have a 6-year-old daughter, and a company to run, and a million reasons why this is a terrible idea." "But you told me anyway." "I told you anyway." He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "I'm an idiot." "You're honest." "Same thing." Ava took a breath. "I like you too. I've been trying not to, but I do. She struggled for words. "You're not what I expected. You're kind, and you're trying really hard to be a good father, and you make me feel like I'm not invisible. You were never invisible. I was to everyone else." They sat in silence. The space between them felt electric and impossible. "So what do we do?" Ava asked finally. "I don't know. The smart thing would be to ignore this and stay professional. Is that what you want?" "No." His voice was rough. "But I don't want to screw up your career or my relationship with Lily or make things complicated at work. Things are already complicated. They could get more complicated." "How?" He leaned closer, not touching her, but close enough that she could feel the heat of him. "If I kiss you right now, everything changes. Your job gets scrutinized. People assume things. Lily gets attached to someone who might not stay. We risk everything we've both built over the last month. And if you don't kiss me, Then we spend the next year pretending we don't want to, which is its own kind of torture. Ava's heart was pounding. That sounds worse. It does, doesn't it? She closed the distance between them. Not all the way. Just enough to make her intentions clear. I don't know if this is a mistake, but I'm tired of being careful. I've been careful my whole life, and it got me nowhere. Ava, kiss me. Or don't. But decide. He decided. His mouth found hers softly at first, tentative, like he was giving her room to change her mind. But Ava didn't change her mind. She kissed him back, her hands finding his shoulders, his arms pulling her closer. It wasn't perfect. Their noses bumped. Ava's elbow hit the armrest awkwardly, but it was real, and it was theirs. And when they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Ethan pressed his forehead to hers. We're making a mistake, he whispered. Probably. People are going to talk. Let them. Lily's going to have opinions. She already does. Ava pulled back to look at him. She told me you smile when I'm around. I do. He touched her face gently. I haven't smiled this much in years. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I'm still figuring that out. They sat together on the couch, Ava tucked against his side, his arm around her shoulders. It felt easy, natural, like they'd been doing this for years instead of minutes. What happens Monday? Ava asked. Monday we go to work and act professional. No one needs to know about this yet. They're going to figure it out. Probably, but let's give them time. He kissed the top of her head. I want to do this right. Take you on actual dates. Meet you outside of work in my house. Figure out if this is real before we tell everyone. It feels pretty real already. It does. He was quiet for a moment. I haven't done this since my wife died. I don't know if I remember how. I've never done this with someone like you. Someone like me. Someone successful. Someone who has their life together. Ethan laughed. I don't have my life together. I work 80 hours a week. I can barely cook. And until 3 weeks ago, I was failing my daughter in every way that mattered. You gave me my life back. You made me remember what actually matters. I didn't do that. You did? We did. He pulled her closer. Together. They stayed like that until Ava's phone alarm went off. A reminder that the last bus left in 20 minutes. Stay, Ethan said quietly. I can't. Guest room. I'm not suggesting, I just don't want you taking the bus this late. Ava wanted to stay, but staying meant crossing another line, blurring more boundaries. I should go, she said, but thank you. He drove her home again. At Riverside Gardens, he walked her to the door despite her protests. Text me when you're inside, he said. I'm going inside right now. You can watch. Text me anyway. She did. Sitting on her couch, still feeling the ghost of his kiss, she sent him a simple message. Ava, I'm home. Thank you for tonight. Ethan, thank you for taking a chance on me. Ava, we're both taking chances. Ethan, worth it? Ava, ask me again in a month. Ethan, I'll hold you to that. Ava fell asleep on the couch, still smiling, her phone clutched in her hand, feeling like maybe, just maybe, things were finally going right. Monday morning arrived with the kind of nervous energy that made Ava's coffee taste like anxiety. She'd spent Sunday alternating between euphoria and panic, replaying Saturday night in her mind until the details blurred together. The kiss, the conversation, the terrifying honesty of two people admitting they wanted something they probably shouldn't have. She dressed carefully for work, choosing clothes that said professional employee and nothing else. The goal was invisible, competent but unremarkable. The last thing she needed was Sophie or Jennifer noticing something different and asking questions. The bus ride felt longer than usual. Ava rehearsed conversations in her head, casual responses to normal questions, nothing that would give away the fact that she'd kissed her boss 2 days ago and couldn't stop thinking about it. At the office, she kept her head down and went straight to her desk. She had notes to compile from last week's testing sessions and a prototype to review. Work. She could focus on work. Her office door was open. Someone had left a coffee on her desk with a sticky note attached. Thought you might need this. E. Ava picked up the cup, still hot. He must have dropped it off minutes ago. She peeled off the note and tucked it in her drawer, a stupid smile on her face that she couldn't quite control. Her phone buzzed. Ethan. Good morning. Act normal. Ava. I'm always normal. Ethan. You're never normal. That's why I like you. She forced herself not to respond, to put the phone away and actually work. But the coffee tasted better knowing he'd brought it. Everything felt better, sharper, more real. The morning passed in meetings and emails. Ava sat through a product review with David and Sophie, contributing ideas and feedback like always. If anyone noticed she was distracted, they didn't say anything. At lunch, she ate at her desk, a salad from the cafeteria that she could finally afford without calculating pennies. The first paycheck had hit her account Friday morning, and seeing that balance had made Ava cry in the bathroom for 5 minutes. $65,000 divided by 26 pay periods, more money than she'd ever had at once in her life. She'd paid her rent that afternoon, paid the electric bill, bought groceries without checking prices. The student loan payment would clear next week, and for the first time since college, she wouldn't have to choose which bill to ignore. Sophie knocked on her door around 2. Team meeting in 10, conference room B. What's it about? New investor presentation. Ethan wants input before he pitches it next week. Ava followed Sophie to the conference room where most of the team was already assembled. Ethan stood at the head of the table, pulling up a presentation on the screen. He nodded at Ava when she entered, but didn't smile, didn't give anything away. The meeting was straightforward. Ethan walked them through the investor pitch, growth projections, market analysis, product roadmap. He was different in these meetings, sharper, more focused. The CEO version of himself that Ava rarely saw. Questions? He asked when he finished. David raised a hand. The curriculum consultant role, how are we explaining that to investors? It's not standard for tech companies. We're positioning it as quality control, Ethan said, making sure our products actually work for the target demographic, instead of just looking good in demos. And Ava's qualifications? Ava's stomach dropped. Everyone turned to look at her. Ava's working on her teaching certification and has first-hand experience with educational failures, Ethan said evenly. She understands what doesn't work because she lived through it. That perspective is invaluable. But she doesn't have a degree yet, someone else pointed out. Investors might see that as a red flag. Investors care about results. We've improved 3 products significantly since Ava joined. The reading module she overhauled is testing 20% better with target demographics. That's what matters. The room went quiet. Ava kept her eyes on the table, feeling exposed and defensive and grateful all at once. Jennifer spoke up. I think we should highlight Ava's contributions in the pitch. Show concrete examples of how her feedback improved outcomes. That's more convincing than any credential. Agreed, Sophie added. Investors eat up that human interest angle. Real person making real improvements. The conversation moved on, but Ava's heart was still racing. This was what Ethan had warned her about. The scrutiny, the questions about whether she deserved to be here. And he'd defended her without hesitation, using data instead of emotion. After the meeting, people filtered out in groups. Ava hung back, pretending to check her phone. Ethan waited until the room was empty. You okay? That was uncomfortable. It'll happen again. People are going to question your qualifications until you prove them wrong so many times they shut up. He kept his distance, professional. But you're doing great. The numbers don't lie. The numbers are because I got lucky. The numbers are because you're good at this. Stop diminishing yourself. Someone walked past the open door. Ethan stepped back, putting more space between them. The moment broke. I should get back to work, Ava said. Yeah, me too. She left before the conversation could become something it shouldn't be at the office. Back at her desk, she threw herself into work, reviewing prototypes, answering emails, scheduling testing sessions for next week. Anything to stop thinking about how complicated everything had become. Her phone buzzed around 4. Ethan. Dinner tomorrow? Somewhere that's not my house or the office. Ava. Like a date? Ethan. Exactly like a date, if you're interested. Ava. Where? Ethan. There's a place in Old Town. Quiet, good food, no one from work goes there. Ava. 7? Ethan. Perfect. I'll pick you up at 6:30. Ava. I can meet you there. Ethan. Ava. Fine. 6:30. She tried to focus on work for the rest of the afternoon, but her mind kept drifting. A real date. With Ethan. Not dinner with Lily as a buffer. Not a work obligation. Just the two of them. figuring out if this thing between them was real or just proximity and timing. That evening, Ava went home and stood in front of her closet with growing desperation. She needed something nice enough for a real restaurant, but not so nice that it looked like she was trying too hard. The problem was, she didn't own anything that fit that description. The black funeral dress was too formal. The jeans and sweater were too casual. Everything else was work uniforms or clothes too worn to wear in public. She called Sophie without thinking it through. "Hey, what's up?" "I need help," Ava admitted. "I have this thing tomorrow night. Dinner at a nice place, and I don't have anything to wear." "A thing?" Sophie's voice sharpened with interest. "What kind of thing?" "Just dinner, with someone." "A date?" "Maybe. Definitely a date." "Who's the guy?" "I can't tell you." "Oh, this is getting good. Okay, what time tomorrow?" 7. "Come to my place at 5. I'll fix you up." Ava almost argued, then stopped. She needed help, and Sophie was offering without judgment. "Thank you," she said quietly. "Are you kidding? This is the most interesting thing that's happened all month. Text me your size." Tuesday dragged. Ava sat through meetings and reviewed code and pretended she wasn't watching the clock. At 4:30, she left the office and took the bus to Sophie's apartment in the nicer part of downtown. Sophie answered the door in leggings and an oversized sweater. "Come in, we're doing a full makeover." "I just need a dress." "You need confidence. The dress is just part of it." She pulled Ava into the bedroom, where several outfits were already laid out on the bed. "I pulled options based on your size. Try them on." Ava tried on 4 dresses before they found the right one. Deep blue, simple cut, fitted but not tight. It hit just above her knees and made her look elegant without trying too hard. "That's it," Sophie declared. "You're wearing that." "Are you sure it's not too much?" "It's perfect. Now sit. I'm doing your makeup." "Sophie, sit." Ava sat. Sophie worked quickly, applying makeup with the efficiency of someone who'd done this 1,000 times. When she finished, she spun Ava toward the mirror. Ava barely recognized herself. The makeup was subtle but transformative. Her eyes looked bigger, her cheekbones more defined. Combined with the dress, she looked like someone who belonged at nice restaurants. "Who is he?" Sophie asked, watching Ava's reflection. "I can't tell you." "That means it's someone I know." "Someone from work?" Ava's face went hot. "Oh my God, it is someone from work." Sophie's eyes widened. "Wait. Is it David? Please tell me it's not David. He's engaged. It's not David. Then who? Come on, you have to tell me. I really can't." Sophie studied her for a long moment. Then something clicked. "Holy shit, it's Ethan, isn't it?" Ava's silence was answer enough. "It's Ethan," Sophie repeated, sounding delighted. "You're going on a date with our boss. This is amazing." "This is a disaster. You can't tell anyone." "Are you kidding? I'm taking this to my grave." "But Ava, seriously, how did this happen?" "It's complicated." "It's always complicated." Sophie sat on the bed. "Does he know you're terrified?" "How do you know I'm terrified?" "Because you look like you're about to throw up. Look, I've worked with Ethan for 4 years. He's a good guy. Intense, workaholic, completely emotionally unavailable since his wife died. But good." She paused. "If he's asking you out, it means something. Or it means he's making a mistake. Maybe. But mistakes are how we figure out what we actually want." Sophie stood and grabbed a pair of shoes from her closet. "Wear these." They matched the dress. The shoes were heels, moderate height. Ava slipped them on and stood, wobbling slightly. "I can't walk in these." "You'll manage. Now go. You don't want to be late." Ava got back to her apartment at 6:15. Ethan was picking her up in 15 minutes. She paced her tiny living room, adjusted the dress, checked her makeup 17 times. At exactly 6:30, her phone buzzed. "Ethan." "I'm outside." Ava grabbed her coat and went downstairs. Ethan was leaning against his car, wearing dark jeans and a jacket that probably cost more than her rent. He straightened when he saw her, his expression doing something complicated. "You look incredible," he said. "Sophie helped." "Remind me to thank her." He opened the car door for her. "Ready?" "Nervous." "Me too." The restaurant was in Old Town, tucked between antique shops and galleries. Small, intimate, the kind of place that didn't advertise because it didn't need to. Ethan had reserved a corner table, away from the windows. They ordered wine and appetizers, making small talk that felt awkward after everything that had happened. Ava kept waiting for the conversation to flow naturally like it did with Lily around. But without that buffer, they were just two people who barely knew each other trying to figure out if they fit. "This is weird," Ethan said finally. "So weird. We should talk about something real." "Okay, like what?" "Like why you decided to give a stranger your last meal." Ava took a sip of wine. "I told you, she was hungry." "That's not the whole answer." He was right. Ava set down her glass and chose honesty. "When I was 10, my mom left. Just walked out one day and never came back. My dad tried his best, but he was working 3 jobs and we still barely made it. I spent a lot of nights hungry, sitting outside waiting for him to come home." Ethan's expression softened. "Ava, when I saw Lily on that curb, I saw myself. And I thought about all the people who walked past me when I was a kid, who saw a hungry girl and kept going. I didn't want to be one of those people." "You're not." "I try not to be." She paused. "My dad died when I was 22, heart attack. He was 51. I think about him sometimes, about how hard he worked, and how little he got for it. He deserved better. People like him deserve better." "Is that why you're so angry at the education system?" "I'm angry because my brother could have been brilliant if someone had helped him. I'm angry because kids like him get written off and forgotten. I'm angry because the system protects itself instead of the children it's supposed to serve." She met his eyes. "And yeah, I know that sounds naive, but I don't care." "It doesn't sound naive. It sounds like you give a damn." Ethan reached across the table, hesitating before taking her hand. "That's the first thing I noticed about you. Not that you were kind. Lots of people are kind when it's convenient, but you were kind when it cost you something. That's rare. You did the same thing. You could have just said thank you and walked away. Instead, you hired me. I hired you because you're good at the work. You hired me because you felt guilty. Both things can be true." Their food arrived, interrupting the conversation. They ate and talked about safer topics: Lily's upcoming recital, a project at work, whether pineapple belonged on pizza. The awkwardness faded, replaced by the easy comfort they'd found in each other before everything got complicated. After dinner, Ethan drove the long way back to Ava's apartment, taking side streets through neighborhoods she'd never seen. They talked about their childhoods, their failures, the moments that had shaped them into who they were. "My wife," Ethan said as they stopped at a red light. "Claire. She was the good parent, patient, creative, always present. When she died, I didn't know how to do it alone, so I just worked more because work made sense. Lily suffered for that. You're doing better now. Because you called me out. That night at Vinny's, you told me I was choosing wrong. No one had said that to me before. Everyone just assumed I was doing my best. You were doing your best. It just wasn't good enough yet." "Harsh but fair." He smiled. "You're good at that." They pulled up to Riverside Gardens. Ethan turned off the car, but didn't move to leave. "I had a good time tonight," he said. "Me too. Can we do it again?" "I think we have to. Otherwise, this is a really expensive way to have one dinner." He laughed, then turned serious. "Ava, I need you to understand something. I'm not good at this. Dating, relationships, being vulnerable. I spent 3 years building walls, and you knocked them down in 3 weeks. That terrifies me." "It terrifies me too." "Why?" "Because I've spent my whole life expecting the other shoe to drop. And this, you, Lily, the job, all of it, feels too good to be real. I keep waiting to wake up back in the restaurant, barely making rent, eating 1 meal a day. You're not going back there. You don't know that. People lose jobs, relationships end. Nothing is permanent." "No, it's not. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't try." He reached over and took her hand. "I can't promise this will work. I can't promise I won't screw it up, or that the company won't implode, or that my daughter won't hate you in 6 months. But I can promise I'll try. That's all I've got." Ava squeezed his hand. "That's enough." He walked her to the door of her building, keeping a respectful distance even though they both knew that ship had sailed. At the entrance, he kissed her, soft and brief and full of promise. "Good night, Ava." "Good night." She watched him drive away, then went upstairs to her apartment. The place looked different now, smaller, but temporary. She wouldn't be here forever. She was moving forward for the first time in her life. The next few weeks passed in a blur of work and stolen moments. Ava and Ethan were careful at the office, maintaining professional distance even as the team started to notice something had shifted. Sophie knew, but kept her word, watching them with barely concealed amusement. They had dinner twice more, real dates at quiet restaurants where they could talk without being interrupted. Ethan told her about Claire, about the guilt he still carried for not being there when she got sick. Ava told him about her brother, about the shame of growing up poor in a country that punished poverty like it was a personal failing. And slowly, carefully, they started building something real. Lily's piano recital arrived on a Saturday in early December. Ava had bought a new dress for the occasion. Not expensive, but nice, paid for with her own money. She met Ethan at the recital hall where anxious parents filled the seats and children in fancy clothes ran around backstage. Lily spotted Ava immediately and ran over, nearly knocking her down with a hug. "You came! I promised I would. I'm so nervous. What if I mess up?" "Then you keep playing. Everyone messes up sometimes. What matters is finishing." Lily nodded seriously, then ran back to her teacher. Ava sat beside Ethan in the third row, their shoulders touching in a way that looked accidental, but wasn't. "Thank you for being here," he said quietly. "I wouldn't miss it." The recital started. Lily played a simplified version of a Mozart piece, her small hands moving carefully across the keys. She hit one wrong note, hesitated, then kept going exactly like Ava had told her to. When she finished, the applause was genuine. Afterward, they took Lily for ice cream even though it was freezing outside. She talked nonstop about the recital, replaying every moment in vivid detail. Ethan listened patiently, asking questions and praising her performance. Ava watched them together and felt something settle in her chest. This was what she'd been missing her whole life. Not perfection, but presence. People who showed up and stayed. Later that night, after Lily was in bed, Ethan and Ava sat in his living room drinking coffee that had gone cold. "She adores you," Ethan said. "The feeling is mutual. I need to tell her. About us. She's going to figure it out soon anyway." Ava's stomach nodded. "What if she doesn't take it well?" "She will. She's been asking when you're moving in since the second time you came over." "I'm not moving in." "I know. But in her mind, people she loves live with us." He set down his mug. "My point is, she already sees you as family. Making it official will just confirm what she already knows. And if it doesn't work out, if we break up and I have to leave, then we handle it together, as adults." He took her hand. "But I don't think we're breaking up." "You sound confident." "I am confident. About this, at least." He kissed her knuckles. "I love you, Ava. I should have said it weeks ago, but I was scared. But I'm done being scared." The words hit her like a physical thing. "You love me?" "I love you. The way you challenge me. The way you make Lily laugh. The way you refused my money but took my job offer because you knew you'd earned it. All of it." Ava's eyes burned. "I love you too. Even though you're a terrible cook and you work too much and you stress about things you can't control. Those sound like criticisms. They're observations. I love you anyway." He pulled her closer and kissed her properly, no holding back, no pretending. When they broke apart, Ava was crying and laughing at the same time. "I'm a mess," she said. "You're perfect." "I'm definitely not perfect." "Perfect for me, then." They told Lily the next morning over breakfast. Ethan had made pancakes, lumpy and slightly burned, but edible. Lily was drowning hers in syrup when he cleared his throat. "Sweetheart, we need to talk to you about something." Lily looked up, syrup on her chin. "Okay." "You know how Ava's been coming over a lot?" "Yeah, she's our friend." "She is our friend, but she's also more than that. Ava and I care about each other. We're dating. Do you know what that means?" Lily's face lit up. "Like boyfriend and girlfriend?" "Exactly like that." "So Ava's going to be my new mom?" Ethan and Ava exchanged glances. "That's not—" "It's more complicated than that," Ethan said carefully. "Why?" "Because Ava and I are still figuring things out. We want to make sure this works before we make big changes." Lily considered this, then turned to Ava. "Are you going to leave?" Ava's throat tightened. "I'm not planning to." "But you might?" "I might. People don't always stay, even when they want to." She reached across the table and took Lily's small hand. But I promise to be honest with you. If something changes, I'll tell you. I won't just disappear. Lily nodded slowly. Okay, can you move in now? Not yet. When? Maybe someday. If your dad and I decide it's the right thing to do. I think it's right now. Ethan smiled. We'll work up to it. For now, Ava's going to keep coming over, and we're going to spend more time together as a family. Is that okay with you? I guess. Lily went back to her pancakes, then looked up again. Can we get a dog now too? We're not getting a dog. But if Ava moves in, we'll need a dog. That's how families work. That is not how families work. Ava laughed. The conversation dissolved into Lily listing all the reasons they needed a dog, while Ethan patiently explained why they didn't. It was normal and chaotic and exactly what Ava had never known she wanted. December passed. Ava's lease ended in February, and she started looking at new apartments, places with working elevators and windows that closed properly. Ethan offered to help with the deposit, and this time Ava accepted. Not charity, but partnership. Two people building a life together, however imperfectly. At work, they went public with their relationship in January after Sophie accidentally let it slip at a team meeting. There was gossip, obviously. People had opinions. But Ethan had been right. Ava's work spoke for itself. 3 major product improvements in 4 months. Testing scores up across the board. Numbers didn't lie. Jennifer pulled Ava aside one afternoon. People are going to talk. They're going to say you slept your way into this job. You know that, right? I know. And you're okay with it? I'm not okay with it, but I can't control what people think. I can only control my work. Ava met her eyes. I earned this position. If people want to diminish that because I'm dating Ethan, that's their problem, not mine. Jennifer smiled. Good answer. For what it's worth, I think you're good for him. He's been different since you showed up. More present, less robot CEO, more human. He was always human. He just forgot for a while. We all forget sometimes. It takes the right person to remind us. Valentine's Day arrived, and Ethan surprised Ava with a low-key dinner at home. He'd actually cooked pasta that was only slightly overcooked and salad that was completely edible. Lily had made them cards covered in glitter and crayon hearts. After Lily went to bed, Ethan pulled out a small box. This isn't an engagement ring, he said immediately. I know we're not there yet, but I wanted you to have something. Inside was a simple silver necklace with a small pendant shaped like a book. Because you're going to be a teacher, Ethan explained. Because you believe in education and second chances and kids who get written off. Because you remind me why any of this matters. Ava put it on and didn't take it off. In March, Ava finished her teaching certification. The graduation ceremony was small, held in a university auditorium that was barely half full. Ethan and Lily came, sitting in the front row and cheering embarrassingly loud when Ava's name was called. Afterward, they went for dinner at Vinny's, the pizza place where everything had started. Lily ordered pepperoni. Ethan got cheese. Ava sat between them, wearing her graduation robes, feeling like she'd finally arrived somewhere. I'm proud of you, Ethan said quietly. It's just a certification. It's not that big of a deal. It's huge. You worked full-time, went to school, and dealt with me. That's basically superhuman. I dealt with you. That makes it sound like you're difficult. I am difficult. You're really not. Lily tugged on Ava's sleeve. Are you going to be a teacher now? Eventually, I'm going to stay at the company for a while first, help build more programs, but someday, yeah. I want to teach. Will you teach me? I already teach you. Every time I help with your homework. That's different. I mean, teach me for real. Maybe. If you're lucky. They ate pizza and breadsticks and talked about nothing important. When they left, Ava stood on the sidewalk outside Vinny's and looked across the street. The curb where Lily had been sitting that November night was empty now, just another piece of sidewalk in a city full of them. What are you thinking? Ethan asked. That I almost walked past her. I was exhausted and broke and I almost just kept going. But you didn't. No, I didn't. She took his hand. I gave her a sandwich and everything changed. You changed everything, for both of us. Lily grabbed their other hands, making a chain. Can we go home now? I'm tired. They walked to the car together. A small, imperfect family held together by chance and choice. Ava thought about all the decisions that had led to this moment. Staying with Lily instead of calling the police. Taking Ethan's job offer instead of playing it safe. Choosing to trust that maybe, just maybe, she deserved something good. Life didn't promise happy endings. Ava knew that better than most. She'd lost people, gone hungry, struggled for every dollar and every opportunity, and she'd probably struggle again because that's what life was. A series of struggles punctuated by moments of grace. But sitting in Ethan's car watching Lily doze off in the back seat while city lights blurred past the windows, Ava understood something she hadn't before. Kindness wasn't weakness. Vulnerability wasn't failure. And sometimes when you gave away your last meal to a stranger, you weren't losing something. You were finding everything you'd been missing. The car pulled into Ethan's driveway. Ava still had her apartment, but she'd spent more nights here than there over the past few months. Her toothbrush sat next to Lily's in the bathroom. Her coffee mug had a permanent spot in the cabinet. Small integrations building towards something permanent. Ethan carried Lily inside while Ava grabbed her bag from the trunk. Inside, the house was warm and lived in. Toys scattered across the floor and dishes in the sink. Not perfect, never perfect. But theirs. After Lily was tucked in, Ava and Ethan sat on the couch with cups of tea that would probably go cold before they finished them. "I've been thinking," Ethan said. "Dangerous. I'm serious about us. About the future." Ava's heart picked up speed. "What about it?" "I want you to move in, not because Lily keeps asking, though she does, because I want you here. Every morning, every night. I want to stop pretending you don't already live here most of the time." "That's a big step." "I know. And if you're not ready, I understand. But I'm ready. I've been ready for a while." Ava looked around the living room, at Lily's drawings on the fridge, at the bookshelf where her teaching textbooks now sat next to Ethan's business books, at the couch where they'd first kissed and fought and figured out how to be together. "Okay," she said. "Okay. I'll move in, not because it's easy or convenient, because I love you both and I want to build something permanent." Ethan kissed her, soft and deep and full of promise. When they broke apart, he was smiling. Fair warning, Lily's going to take this as permission to start campaigning for a dog again. "We're definitely getting a dog." "Ava, a family needs a dog. That's just science." "That's not science." "It is according to Lily, and between you and me, I think she's usually right about these things." Ethan laughed, pulling her closer. "I've created a monster. Two of you ganging up on me." "You love it." "I really do." They sat together in the quiet house, drinking cold tea and making plans for a future neither of them had expected. Ava thought about the woman she'd been 6 months ago, broke, exhausted, invisible. That woman would never have believed this was possible, but it was possible. She was living proof. Because sometimes the smallest acts of kindness changed everything. A sandwich given freely, a hand extended without expectation, a choice made to care about someone when it would have been easier not to. And sometimes, when you were brave enough to accept help, to trust that you deserved good things, life gave you more than you'd ever dared to hope for. Not perfection, never perfection, but something better, a real life built one imperfect moment at a time, with people who showed up and stayed. Ava fell asleep on Ethan's couch that night, his arm around her shoulders, the sounds of the city humming through the windows. And for the first time in longer than she could remember, she wasn't afraid of what came next. She was ready for it, all of it, whatever came, because she wasn't alone anymore. She had Ethan. She had Lily. She had a job that mattered and a future worth fighting for. And it had all started with one sandwich shared freely on a cold November night when a broke waitress decided that kindness mattered more than self-preservation. That decision had saved a little girl, but in the end, it had saved Ava too.